Chapter 617. Regarding Duan Kai's meaning, how could Longao not know? He sneered in his heart, but on the surface, he said indifferently, "Brother Duan, I don't think it's possible for the third-rank Long family to stay out of this." "Master Long, what do you mean?" "It's simple. The third-rank Long family just wants to watch from the sidelines. When we, the Nether Mansion, and the Ethereal Palace all suffer, they'll come out and reap the benefits. So that's how it is." In fact, Duan Kai had already thought of this problem, but once the third-rank Long family joined the battle, it would be very disadvantageous for them. "Master Long, if the third-rank Long family, the Ethereal Palace, and the Nether Mansion join forces, we'll be in trouble." Longao snorted, but he didn't take it to heart. "Brother Duan, the four forces, the East Royal City, the Long family of the West, the Nether Mansion of the South, and the Misty Palace of the North, have always been fighting openly and secretly. They are like fire and water. I want to ask, when have the four forces truly joined hands?" Duan Kai was speechless because, as Longao said, it was impossible for the four major forces to join forces. If the four major forces were willing to join forces, the Dragon Sect would have been destroyed by now. Longao, Duan Kai, and the other three major forces knew this clearly. Duan Kai instantly understood Longao's meaning. He had to admit that Longao was indeed a talent because ordinary people wouldn't dare to do such a thing. Not to mention others, if he was in Duan Kai's shoes, would he dare to do such a thing? The answer was no. It was precisely because of this that in Duan Kai's heart, he still admired Longao very much. However, Duan Kai was very clear that although the Imperial City and Longao were in an alliance now, they might not fall out in a short period of time. However, in the future, between the Imperial City and Longao, it would definitely be a life-and-death battle. Not to mention that two tigers couldn't live on the same mountain, the fact that Duan Kai killed his grandson was something that couldn't be forgiven. How could Longao not know what Duan Kai was thinking? Longao and Duan Kai both had their own ulterior motives, but even on the surface, they seemed like good friends. Longao and Duan Kai discussed how to deal with the three major forces. Just as Longao had guessed, the Nether Mansion, Ethereal Palace, and the third-rank Long family seemed to be on the same side, but they were all on the same side. This gave Longao and the Imperial City an opportunity. Longao's hearts' Dao. Sky Marshal Continent, in a certain place. The black-clothed granny brought Wang Yuan to an extremely mysterious place. Looking at the black entrance in front of her, she said, "Yuan, once you enter, you will most likely die. Let me ask you one last time, do you really want to enter?" Staring at the black channel, Yuan didn't feel the slightest fear. She didn't even think about it. She nodded. "Master, I have no objections. I'm willing to go in." "Senior Hades, if you let Yuan enter that place, aren't you trying to kill Yuan?" At this time, a person's voice suddenly came from not far away. When this person appeared, if Longao was here, he would definitely be very surprised, because this person was none other than Shapotian. The god of the underworld was Yuan's master, the so-called black-clothed granny. "Young Master Shi, you know Yuan's situation better than I do. Under normal circumstances, Yuan would need at least 20 years to break through to the divine Tao. We can't wait that long." Although Yuan didn't like Shapotian liked Yuan very much. He looked at her affectionately and asked softly, "Yuan, do you really want to go to that place?" Yuan nodded and said firmly, "I want to go." "Thank you for your concern." Sighing deeply, Shapotian said helplessly, "Yuan, I know your temper. Since you insist on going, I won't force you. I only hope that you'll let me go with you. How about it?" "No. No." Not only did Yuan disagree, but Hades also disagreed. "Young Master Shi, you can't joke about this." "Why not? When I went in alone, didn't I still come out alive? I believe that with me taking care of Yuan, she will definitely be able to come out successfully." It would be a lie to say that she wasn't moved, because Hades knew very well that once Shapotian went in with Yuan, the chances of success would be greatly increased. But if something happened to Shapotian, how would she explain it to the Wan Shou sect? After thinking about it, Hades still didn't want to take this risk. "Young Master Shi, I hope you know that Yuan is my disciple. I don't want anyone to interfere in this matter. I hope you can respect yourself. As for the matter between you and Yu Yin, I don't want to interfere. But you have to wait until Yu Yin breaks through to the divine Tao. Otherwise, there's nothing to talk about. Looking deeply at Hades, Shapotian was obviously afraid of this person. In the end, he could only choose to give up. Yu Yin, I'll wait for you here. Young Master Shi, I hope you understand that I already have someone I like, so it's impossible for us to be together. Ha 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 ha, you should have someone you like. It doesn't matter, I can compete fairly. No matter who it is, I can compete fairly with them. Shapotian was very confident. As the strongest disciple of the Wan Shou sect, and the owner of the Wan Shou sect token, Shapotian had the right to be arrogant. Hades knew this and Yu Yin even more. Because of this, Yu Yin didn't dare to offend Shapotian. Even Hades, although much stronger than Shapotian, was still polite to him. Otherwise, if it was someone else, Hades would have already taken action. Young Master Shi, I already told you before that you and Yu Yin have to wait until Yu Yin breaks through to the divine Tao. Before Hades could finish, Yu Yin seemed to be very impatient and directly interrupted him. This was the first time Yu Yin interrupted her master. Hades seemed a little surprised, but in the end, he didn't continue. Hades knew his disciple very well. For Longao, she would do anything. Otherwise, Yu Yin wouldn't have lasted 10 years. 10 whole years, how many girls could do that? Master, if there's nothing else, I'll go in first. Nodding, Hades finally showed some concern and said worriedly, Yu Yin, be careful. No matter what happens, come back alive first, understand? Nodding, Yu Yin said, Master, you also take care. After saying this, Yu Yin didn't even say a word to Shapotian. She directly entered the black passage and disappeared without a trace. Chapter 618. Looking at the disappearing figure, Shapotian's face suddenly darkened. His gloomy face was as ugly as it could get. As the most playful disciple of the Wan Shou sect, Shapotian could be said to be high and mighty. There were too many women who liked him to count, except for Yu Yin. She was a very special woman, she didn't want to accept him. No matter what he did, Yu Yin didn't want to accept him. The more Yu Yin didn't want to accept him, the more Shapotian wanted Yu Yin. Men were always like this, the more they couldn't get something, the more they wanted it. Hades, I want Yu Yin, just state your conditions. Yu Yin already has someone in her heart, it's very difficult. Who is the man Yu Yin likes? I'll go kill him now. Shapotian was very confident, no matter who the man was, he could kill him. No matter if it was his personal strength or the Wan Shou sect's power, no one dared to provoke him. Who dared to steal his woman? How reckless. No matter who it was, Shapotian didn't take them seriously, but Hades said helplessly, although this man is not strong, he is the man Yu Yin likes the most. If you kill him, you will never be able to get Yu Yin. What should I do? Before Hades could say anything, Shapotian continued, if you can help me get Yu Yin, I can promise you anything, no matter what it is. Needless to say, this condition was very tempting. Although Shapotian hadn't promised anything yet, as the strongest disciple of the Wan Shou sect, and the owner of the Wan Shou sect token, a promise from Shapotian was much better than anything else. Hades finally smiled and said, as long as you help me, I will promise you that I will help you get Yu Yin. Hearing Hades' condition, Shapotian was shocked at first, but then he gritted his teeth and nodded, okay, it's a deal. A deal is a deal. Hades thought for a moment, then said, young Master Shi, you have to remember, if you want to win Yu Yin's heart, you have to defeat that man first. Who is it? You have to promise me that before Yu Yin agrees, you're not allowed to deal with this person. If I find out, I won't let you off. You can forget about getting Yu Yin for the rest of your life. Understood. I will do it. In fact, Hades wasn't too worried, because Shapotian still had his reputation. Since Shapotian had already agreed, he believed that he wouldn't do anything to Longao. Scarlet Fire Town's Longao. He can be considered a rather famous person in the 9 provinces. Longao? Shapotian was very surprised, even shocked, because he never would have thought that the person Hades was talking about, the man that Yu Yin liked, was actually Longao, the man that he had an agreement with. You know Longao? Nodding, Shapotian didn't hide anything, and told him everything that happened between him and Longao. However, he didn't mention a word about the agreement between the two of them. After listening, Hade sighed and said with a cold smile, Young Master Sha, if you really want to win Yu Yin's heart, then when Longao comes, you have to defeat Longao fair and square, and tell Longao that you are the strongest man. Remember, don't play any tricks, defeat Longao fair and square. Ha ha ha. Laughing loudly, Shapotian said heroically, Hades, you think too highly of Longao. Although this person's talent is very good, in my eyes, he is just a chess piece. I will defeat him fair and square, and in front of Yu Yin. Do as you see fit. I don't know anything. Similarly, I didn't say anything. Hades, you let Yu Yin enter that place this time. What if something happens to Yu Yin? Hades was no fool. Of course he knew what Shapotian was worried about. He said, Don't worry, Yu Yin has the supreme artifact of our sect. Unless she meets someone on the level of your father, Yu Yin will be safe and sound. Hearing this, Shapotian finally let out a sigh of relief. Shapotian and Hades didn't speak anymore. The two of them seemed to be thinking about their own matters. This cooperation between Shapotian and Hades could be said to be for each of them to get what they needed. Looking at the distant land of the 9 provinces, Shapotian suddenly said to himself, Longao. Dragon Sect, Back Mountain Forbidden Area. At the peak of the mountain, Longao was quietly cultivating, comprehending the Tao of Divination and the Chaos Stone Tablet. He suddenly raised his head and looked in a certain direction. He didn't know why, but his heart seemed to be beating very fast just now, as if something was about to happen. What's wrong with me? Helplessly shaking his head, Longao was very irritated in this period of time. Even so, he still forced himself to constantly comprehend the Tao of Divination and the Chaos Stone Tablet. The more he comprehended, the more impatient and irritated Longao became. Longao had always been very confident in his talent. Under normal circumstances, he could comprehend any cultivation method or martial skill very quickly. Only the Tao of Divination and the Chaos Stone Tablet, no matter how hard he tried, could not succeed. What was going on? With no other choice, Longao could only sit down and continue comprehending the Chaos Stone Tablet and the Tao of Divination. At this moment, Longao was overjoyed because he could clearly feel that the Chaos Stone Tablet in his body suddenly had a strange movement. Before he could figure out what was going on, the Chaos Stone Tablet had already floated out and quietly floated in the air. Following that, the Chaos Stone Tablet suddenly shot out words that he couldn't understand. Without a doubt, Longao was very clear that the words that suddenly shot out from the Chaos Stone Tablet were definitely the martial skill that was contained within the Chaos Stone Tablet. His heart was filled with joy. Longao immediately began to comprehend, hoping that he could successfully comprehend and obtain this legendary martial skill. But what made Longao feel incomparably pained was that no matter how he tried to comprehend, he was still unable to comprehend the meaning of these words. Like this, he could only watch with his eyes wide open, unable to truly comprehend them. Watching without being able to comprehend, this was like a brothel customer looking at a prostitute, only able to watch but unable to do anything. Wasn't this a pain in the ass? What's going on? Longao was depressed to the extreme. He didn't know what to do because the Chaos Stone Tablet had already revealed the martial skill, but he was unable to obtain it. After a full hour, the Chaos Stone Tablet returned to his dantian. As for Longao, he could only return without any gains. Looking at the endless void in the distance, just as Longao was feeling incomparably depressed, Shapotian's figure suddenly appeared and said, Brother Long, I trust you've been well since we last met. In just a few short months, you can be considered to have soared to the heavens in the 9 provinces. Chapter 619. Looking at Shapotian who suddenly appeared, Longao was very surprised. Because according to their agreement, Shapotian would come to him when he broke through. But now, in just a few months, Shapotian came again. What did he want? Longao didn't know why, but he always felt that Shapotian's attitude towards him had changed. As for why, he didn't know and couldn't guess. Longao, do you know Yu Yin? Hearing the two words Yu Yin, Longao's body suddenly trembled. He stared at Shapotian in front of him and asked, Brother Sha, have you seen Yu Yin? How is she now? You don't need to know about this. Longao, I can tell you clearly that I also like Yu Yin very much. Longao, not Brother Long. Although the change of address didn't mean anything, Longao knew that Shapotian had definitely seen Yu Yin. So what? Very simple. I'll give you two choices. The first choice is to leave Yu Yin. Our agreement will still stand. The second choice is that I'll kill you directly. You can choose one, but I hope you'll choose the first choice because I like smart people. Longao smiled. Without even thinking, Longao directly said, I choose the second one. Ha ha ha, good, I admire you. Although your family background is not good, you are stronger than many people. Longao, don't say that I am bullying you. I will compete with you for Yu Yin's matter fairly, and our agreement will still be the same. What do you think? I have no problem with that. Longao, I will give you a chance. Because our starting point is different, I will wait for you. I will wait for the day when you come to find me. At that time, we will have a fair battle. If you win, I will quit and we will still be friends. But if I win, you must quit and never bother Yu Yin again. What do you think? Longao more or less had a good impression of Shapotian. In any case, Shapotian didn't make a move right now. Longao knew very well in his heart that with Shapotian's strength, if he chose to deal with him at this time, he had almost no chance of winning, unless the ancestor made a move. Since that was the case, Longao did not hesitate in the slightest. He nodded and said, I will definitely go find you and defeat you. No matter who it is, they will not be able to take away my Yu Yin because Yu Yin is mine. Very good. Brother Long, I want to know more about the matter between you and Yu Yin. Nodding his head, Longao didn't try to hide this matter, because many people knew about the matter between him and Yu Yin. The two of them sat at the peak of the mountain at the same time. Longao began to talk about him and Yu Yin. Unknowingly, a full 6 hours had passed since the start of the lecture. During this time, Longao only talked and Shapotian only listened. From beginning to end, Shapotian didn't disturb Longao. The two of them seemed to have a very close relationship. They weren't rivals at all, but rather old friends. After listening to the story, Shapotian deeply sighed and said, Yu Yin is a good girl. Longao, I envy you. Although I was born in a good family, there has never been a girl who could move me. Yu Yin is the first, and also the only one. Longao didn't say anything, he just quietly listened. Sometimes, I really envy you. Because in a powerful sect, there is mutual deception everywhere. Open strife and veiled strife. The slightest carelessness will cause you to be consigned to eternal damnation. Brother Long, do you understand what I'm saying? Nodding his head, although Longao hadn't been in a superforce like the WN Shou sect or the Long family, he could completely understand what Shapotian just said. Not to mention a big family or a big sect, even a small family or a small sect would have the same situation. Although I don't want to disturb you, but I really like Yu Yin, so we still have the same agreement. You must defeat me in a fair battle, otherwise, I won't let you have Yu Yin. I will. Good, Brother Long, since you and I are friends, and I also like Yu Yin, you can rest assured that I will protect Yu Yin's safety. No matter who it is, no one will hurt her. Longao trusted Shapotian. He didn't know why, but he had a feeling that Shapotian really treated him as a friend. Moreover, he didn't know anything about Yu Yin's situation. With Shapotian's help, he believed that Yu Yin wouldn't have any problems in a short time. All of a sudden, Shapotian suddenly said, Brother Long, I want to remind you that you must be careful of Yu Yin's master, Hades. This person is very sinister. As far as I know, taking Yu Yin away this time shouldn't be a good thing. Hades. At this moment, Longao finally knew what Yu Yin's master was, but Longao didn't ask because he knew very well that if Shapotian was willing to tell him, there was no need to ask. Shapotian would naturally tell him. But if Shapotian didn't want to say, even if he asked 10,000 times, he believed that Shapotian wouldn't tell him. Well, I look forward to the day when you become strong. Before Longao could continue speaking, Shapotian's figure had already disappeared without a trace. He really came and went without a trace, drifting erratically. From beginning to end, Longao couldn't sense Shapotian's true strength. Great Emperor? Titled Great Emperor? Or a supreme Tao warrior? Although he couldn't sense it, Longao could be sure of one thing. That was, Shapotian was at least a great emperor. If he wanted to reach this level, it seemed that he had to speed up. With Shapotian's sudden arrival this time, Longao became more and more worried about Yu Yin's safety. The god of the underworld seemed to be plotting against Yu Yin. Longao didn't act impulsively. Reason told him that even if he found Yu Yin now, it seemed that he couldn't do anything other than being of no help. Rather than beating the grass to scare the snake, it was better to speed up his cultivation. When he had a powerful strength, he would go find Yu Yin. He believed that he would have the confidence to bring Yu Yin back. Longao was very depressed. Why did the two women he loved become like this? Yu Yin was taken away by Hades for no reason and her whereabouts were still unknown. As for Aoshue, she had fainted 8 times. Under the circumstances, she had no choice but to be sent back to the Phoenix clan. No one knew whether she was still alive or not. Clenching his fists tightly, Longao looked at the endless void in the distance. He kept telling himself that no matter what happened, no matter how much danger there was in front of him, he had to bring back Yu Yin and Aoshue. The miraculous change in his state of mind made Longao completely different. The sun rose from the east and a new day slowly descended on the earth. Longao didn't continue to worry about Yu Yin and Aoshue because he knew that he had to take one step at a time. Thinking too much would only bring him endless troubles. Not only would it not bring him any benefits, it would even hinder his cultivation speed. The loss outweighed the gain. Chapter 620. Longao didn't continue to dwell on Yu Yin. No matter what, Shapotian had promised him a fair battle. Longao couldn't comprehend the divination Tao and the Chaos Stone Tablet. This was the most depressing thing for him. Without a choice, Longao could only choose to temporarily give up on comprehending the divination Tao and the Chaos Stone Tablet. Longao didn't appear, but the Dragon Sect still swept through the 9 states. Under the bloody suppression, the Dragon Sect had slowly become the overlord of the 9 states. This time, the Dragon Sect had learned their lesson. Under the bloody suppression, Longao immediately reorganized the 9 states and sent people to guard the various families and sects. This was beneficial for the Dragon Sect to stabilize their position as the overlord. Ever since the Imperial City and the Dragon Sect joined hands, the Ethereal Palace, Nether Mansion, and the third-rank Long family had completely given up on the 9 states. They were like fire and water. After settling the 9 states, the Dragon Sect sent all their forces to the 9 states. However, the Imperial City was clearly playing tricks and didn't use their foundation. This way, in the eyes of outsiders, the Imperial City was using the Dragon Sect as cannon fodder. The Dragon Sect knew this very well and naturally didn't want to become cannon fodder. Therefore, Longao secretly ordered to relax their attacks on the 3 forces and be on par with the Imperial City. But even so, the Imperial City was still hesitant and always had the same few people. In the end, Longao was ruthless and directly withdrew the Million Corpse Demon Army, leaving the Imperial City to fight the 3 forces alone. The Dragon Sect instantly withdrew from the battle and the Imperial City was completely dumbfounded. The Imperial City never thought that the Dragon Sect would suddenly withdraw from the battle. However, at this time, the 3 forces didn't give the Imperial City any chance and started to counterattack. The Imperial City's strength had greatly increased after this beast tide, but it was still a bit impossible to fight the 3 forces alone. The Million Corpse Demon Army could fight the 8 forces alone, but it was the Dragon Sect's Million Corpse Demon Army and not the Imperial City. In the end, Duan Kai brought Duan He personally to Sin City. However, the result was that Longao wasn't in Sin City at all and had returned to the Dragon Sect. Duan Kai and Duan He hurried through the night and finally arrived at the Dragon Sect the next morning. Dragon Sect, Back Mountain Forbidden Area. Master Long, what do you mean? Why did you suddenly withdraw from the battle? Have you forgotten that we are allies? Looking at Longao, who was leisurely drinking tea in the pavilion, he was furious to the extreme. He wanted nothing more than to go up and tear Longao into pieces. He ignored the two of them. Longao picked up the teacup on the table and took a sip before putting it down gently. He seemed to want to say something, but was stopped by Longao. The two of them then entered the pavilion and sat down without waiting for Longao to be polite. Master Dragon, I would like to ask you something. Since you and I are allies, the dragon sect retreated just like that and almost caused the destruction of my imperial city. Therefore, I would like you to give me an explanation, Master Dragon. Glancing at the two people opposite him, Longao's face was filled with displeasure. His voice was very indifferent as he said, almost killed Huang Cheng? Serves him right. Serves him right. Hearing Longao's words, both Duan He and Duan Kai's faces changed. However, the two of them came this time to continue their alliance with the dragon sect. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, Duan He and Duan Kai would definitely not fall out with each other. The two of them still knew what was important and what was not. Master Dragon, what do you mean by this? Ignoring Duan Kai, Longao seemed to be saying to Duan He, next time, if you dare to call me that again, I will kill you directly. You! Waving his hand to stop his son, Duan Kai's face became even more gloomy. However, he knew very well that Longao had the right to be arrogant. If it was 3 months ago, would Longao still dare to do this? Master Dragon. Duan Kai, since you're here this time, then let's not beat around the bush. The Imperial City and the Dragon Sect have formed an alliance. You and I have already agreed that this time, we will go all out to deal with the 3 major forces together. But what's the result? Without giving Duan Kai a chance to speak, Longao continued, the result I see is that the Dragon Sect is fighting to the death while the Imperial City is stealing chickens and dogs. Since the Imperial City is not willing to go all out and wants us to be cannon fodder, I'm sorry, I can't do that. So that's how it is. In fact, Duan Kai and Duan He had already guessed this result. They originally thought that the Dragon Sect had an army of millions of corpse slaves and would not care about this. Now, it seemed that the two of them had miscalculated. Master Dragon, so this is what you're here for. You just said that we are all understanding people. Since that's the case, I will also go straight to the point. That's right, the Imperial City did not go all out this time. Longao smiled and did not speak. Master Dragon, your dragon sect has an army of millions of corpse slaves, and they are all immortal. You can definitely fight 100 people. Since that's the case, I think it's not a problem for the dragon sect to send out more. Ha ha ha, what a calculative Imperial City. Duan Kai and Duan His faces were very ugly as they stared at the young man in front of them. Until now, the two of them felt like they were dreaming. They actually had to look at each other's faces. Was this real? Even if my dragon sect has an army of millions of corpse slaves, what does it have to do with your Imperial City? Without giving the two of them any chance to speak, Longao continued, at the beginning of the alliance, we agreed that we would go all out. But from the beginning to the end, the Imperial City has been holding back, and my dragon sect was almost defeated. Duan Kai, tell me, if you were in my shoes, would you dare to accept such an alliance? Master Dragon, this time, the Imperial City did something wrong. But no matter what, you and I are allies. So, I hope that you can take the alliance into account and attack again. This time, the Imperial City will definitely go all out. It's too late. Why? Duan Kai and Duan He were very curious. They did not know what Longao meant by too late. Duan Kai, if you came to me with such sincerity 3 days ago, perhaps I would have considered it. But now, the 3 major forces are obviously targeting your Imperial City. If I choose to attack at this time, it seems a little unkind. Master Dragon. I can't be unkind. Your Imperial City has cheated me time and time again. If I don't do something, it seems like I'm letting down myself and the sect. So, this time, I won't help you. I hope the Imperial City can hold on for a month. Duan Kai and Duan He were mad with anger, but there was nothing they could do. The two of them had never thought that things would develop to this point. The sudden withdrawal of the dragon sect had indeed brought endless trouble to the imperial city. If your imperial city can still hold on after a month, then I can promise you that we will still be allies. I hope that you won't be cheap at that time, otherwise. Chapter 621. Although Longao did not finish his words, the meaning in his words was already very clear. Don't be cheap. Longao didn't care about the two at all. It was as if their positions had changed completely. Duan Kai and Duan He were unwilling to accept the reality. Their gloomy faces were filled with killing intent. But in the end, they endured it. After all, they came here for the dragon-seeking sect. If it was in the past, the imperial city wouldn't care about the dragon-seeking sect. But now, the situation was different. The dragon-seeking sect suddenly withdrew, causing the imperial city to be in a passive position. If the three major forces didn't let them go, they would be in big trouble. After the beast horde, the imperial city's strength grew rapidly. But to fight 1 against 3 was a joke. From the beginning to the end, the imperial city didn't expect the dragon-seeking sect to withdraw, causing the imperial city to be in a passive position. Because of this, Duan Kai and Duan He had no choice but to come here. Master Long, I hope you can consider the big picture. Us being attacked by the three major forces has no benefits for the dragon-seeking sect. What do you think? Even if there are no benefits, I won't be cannon fodder. Please leave. An eviction order. Longao obviously didn't want to talk to the two anymore. Duan Kai and Duan He stood up and looked deeply at Longao. Then, they snorted and left quickly. Just as the two left, Ghost King Ao Tien appeared. Master, you openly rejected the imperial city. I'm afraid we'll be in trouble. How could Longao not know what Ghost King Ao Tien meant? He sneered and said, I want the imperial city to see that the dragon-seeking sect isn't easy to bully. Master, this matter isn't so simple. What do you mean? Longao was curious. Ghost King Ao Tien wouldn't say such things under normal circumstances, especially after knowing Aoshua's identity. But at this moment, did the Ghost King realize something was wrong? Sighing deeply, Ghost King Ao Tien suddenly said, Master, we don't have to talk about our relationship. I won't harm you or the dragon-seeking sect. Nodding his head, Longao was well aware of this. The more the Ghost King acted like this, the more curious Longao became. Master, although the spirit domain of the 9 states has always been dominated by the 4 great forces, everyone knows that the true overlords of the spirit domain of the 9 states are not the 4 great forces. If we really destroy the 4 great forces and anger the existence behind the 4 great forces, we will be in great trouble. So that was the case. Longao instantly understood what Ao Tien meant. In fact, Longao had also thought about this problem. This matter was no longer a secret. It was impossible for the 9-state spirit domain to be dominated by the 4 major forces. However, the true overlords of the martial heaven continent were not the Netherworld Mansion, the Ethereal Palace, the third-rank Long family, or the Imperial City. They were the so-called Long family, the Myriad Beast Gate, and the Heaven and Earth Gate. Because of this, Longao couldn't understand. Since the Long family, the Heaven and Earth Gate, and the Myriad Beast Gate were the true overlords, why didn't they do it themselves? Instead, they found a few puppets to dominate the spirit domain of the 9 states. Uncle Ao, if you have something to say, just say it. You just said that our relationship is right there. So no matter what it is, you can say it to me. Alright, my meaning is very simple. I hope that Master, before the dragon-seeking sect becomes strong, you don't fight to the death with the 4 great forces. We need to stabilize the situation first, step by step, only then can we win every battle. Uncle Ao, are you worried that the true overlord behind the 4 great forces will appear? That's right. Longao also lowered his head and began to ponder. He also felt that this matter was a bit troublesome. Just as the Ghost King said, once he provoked the true overlord behind the 4 great forces, with the dragon-seeking sect's strength, it would only be destroyed. But things had already reached this point. Did he really have to give up? Master, there are gains and losses in everything. Choosing to give up now may not be a bad thing. Maybe it's a good thing. The four great forces will always be a threat. If we choose to give up now, the consequences will be unimaginable when the four great forces come looking for trouble in the future. Let's not make a decision first. Let's wait and see. Both sides suffered losses. Longao and the Ghost King seemed to have thought of this point, but their expressions were serious. The Ghost King sat down and the two began to discuss the matter between the dragon-seeking sect and the four great forces. After leaving the dragon-seeking sect, the two coldly looked at the dragon-seeking sect in front of them. Duan, he scolded fiercely, Longao is a despicable person. He thinks that he can control everything with his undead army. I will let him know in the future how big the gap is between the dragon-seeking sect and the Imperial City. Longao is a bit abnormal this time. He should know that the dragon-seeking sect's sudden withdrawal is not a good thing for him. What is Longao thinking? Father, with the power of our Imperial City, we won't go to this extent. Shut up. Duan Kai seemed to be a little irritated and said frankly, this is the old ancestor's intention. If you and I could make the decision, the dragon-seeking sect would have been destroyed long ago. Look at the situation now, there is endless trouble. Old ancestor? Hearing the words old ancestor, Duan, he seemed to know what had happened. He shrugged helplessly and asked, Father, what should we do now? Retreat in order to advance. I will also learn this move from Longao. Retreat in order to advance. Duan Kai and Duan, he returned to the Imperial City and immediately ordered a full withdrawal from the battle. With the withdrawal of the Imperial City, this battle could be said to be a total victory for the three great forces. The reason for the Imperial City and the dragon-seeking sect's final defeat was very simple. It was because the relationship between the Imperial City and the dragon-seeking sect had suddenly broken. No one could understand what was going on between the dragon-seeking sect and the Imperial City. One moment they were allies, the next they retreated, and the next they were enemies. Even if there were no unchanging interests in the world, no inconvenient enemies and friends, the Imperial City and the dragon-seeking sect seemed to have changed too quickly. The dragon-seeking sect and the Imperial City's decision made everyone a little confused. The Imperial City and the dragon-seeking sect withdrew one after another. Just when everyone thought that the Ethereal Palace, the Nether Mansion, and the Third Grade Long family would launch an all-out counterattack, the three great forces suddenly withdrew as well. Originally, a great war was about to break out, but no one expected that in just a few days, both sides would immediately cease all activities as if nothing had happened. Now, no one knew what had happened. Were the four great forces and the dragon-seeking sect not going to war? The four great forces were still occupying the 9-state spirit domain, and the city of Sin could not invade. Although Longao did not obtain the 9-state spirit domain, he had obtained the entire 9 states. If it developed well, it would be a great thing for him and the dragon-seeking sect. Chapter 622. Longao did not expect the situation of the four major forces. According to Longao's previous thoughts, with his sudden withdrawal this time, he believed that with the character of the three major forces, they would definitely not let the Imperial City off. But what was the result? After thinking about it, Longao had already guessed the three major forces' intentions. They were afraid that he would watch from the sidelines and reap the benefits. The three major forces were so cunning. Longao was certain that the three major forces already knew of his existence. Otherwise, the three major forces would not let the Imperial City go so easily. Duan Kai. As for his whereabouts, there was no doubt that it was Duan Kai and his son who leaked it. However, Longao did not care at all. With the million-strong corpse slave army, even if the four major forces joined forces, he would not be afraid. Longao was not satisfied. This time, he retreated in order to advance and did not succeed in defeating the four major forces. He knew clearly that it would be difficult to have a second chance like this. However, there were gains and losses. At least this time, he had successfully interfered with the four major forces' alliance. He believed that after this, it would be harder for the four major forces to continue their alliance. Longao knew clearly that after this, the four major forces would not make any moves for a short period of time. It was also because of this that Longao was prepared to head to the city of Sin, the so-called grave of the gods. Long Batian repeatedly reminded Longao not to go to the grave of the gods. However, after thinking about it, Longao was still prepared to take the risk. As the saying goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. The entire grave of the gods had thousands of divine path inheritances. If he could bring all of them back, wouldn't the dragon sect and family have thousands of divine path warriors? Just thinking about it made him excited. Longao's idea was simple. This time, he had to bring back some divine path inheritances from the city of Sin. Although his current enemies were only the 4 major forces, it was inevitable that some powerful forces from the Long family would appear in the future. When that time came, the dragon sect's current strength would be almost instantly wiped out by these super existences. Hence, Longao decided to take the risk and head to the city of Sin. This time, Longao didn't tell anyone about his departure. He left quietly because he didn't want anyone to worry, especially his family. City of Sin. Right now, Sin City was even more famous than before because everyone knew that Sin City was the second headquarters of the Longao. You might not know about the 4 major powers, but you couldn't not know about the Longao. No one knew that Longao had returned to Sin City, not even the 2 saints who were guarding Sin City. In front of the grave of the gods. Longao took a deep breath. He knew very well in his heart that if he were to enter the necropolis of the gods now, he would most likely die. If they succeeded, their families and sects would have thousands of supreme Tao warriors. If they failed, their lives would be left behind in the grave of the gods. In the dragon seal space. Master, have you really thought it through? Nodding his head, Longao replied with a firm expression, "You've been with me for so long. Don't you understand my character?" Of course, Long Fu knew his master's character. Hence, he didn't stop him at all. Instead, he said, "Master, since you've decided, let's have a good discussion. Long Fu, do you have a good idea?" Longao wasn't a fool. He also understood Long Fu very well. If it wasn't for the fact that Long Fu had a plan, it wouldn't be like this. If that was the case, it seemed that his chances of success in entering the grave of the gods had increased. Nodding his head, Long Fu said, "Master, although there are thousands of spirits in the grave of the gods, 80% of them have already disappeared. However, any of the remaining 20% can easily kill you." Regarding this point, Longao naturally knew clearly. Spirits, even if they couldn't reach the strength of the original body, it would be a very easy thing for them to kill a warrior like him. It was because of this that Longao had to be careful. Otherwise, he could have just swaggered in and come out with thousands of spirits. "Master, I believe you've already guessed this. There's a powerful backer behind the grave of the gods. Although I can't sense it, I can tell you with certainty that this enemy isn't someone you can afford to offend." Longao also knew about this. Previously, the old ancestor had already warned him repeatedly not to enter the grave of the gods. Although the old ancestor didn't finish his words, Longao could guess. "Long Fu, do you have a way to avoid it?" "That's right. Firstly, Master, you have to avoid it. Secondly, you have to defeat the spirits in order to obtain the inheritance of the Supreme Tao. No matter which one it is, the consequences can be imagined if you relax. Defeat the spirits." Longao's heart was completely crushed. Entering the grave of the gods this time, Longao also had a fluke mentality because there was a senior with a Long family in the grave of the gods. If he could obtain the help of this senior, he believed that his chances of success would greatly increase. "Master, spirits are afraid of lightning. When I was refining the blood-sucking blade for you, I had already integrated the 108 divine lightning pearls left behind by the old ancestor into the blood-sucking blade. Therefore, Master, your blood-sucking blade now possesses the aura of lightning that can destroy the heavens and earth." Hearing this, Longao's heart was immediately filled with joy. He was very grateful to Long Fu. Of course, Longao knew what the 108 divine lightning pearls represented. After all, this was a treasure left behind by Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon. The power of the 108 divine lightning pearls was needless to say. Taking a deep breath, Longao didn't continue talking to Long Fu. He immediately entered the dragon seal space and stared at the entrance in front of him. Longao didn't enter immediately because he was adjusting. Once he entered, it was hard to say whether he would survive or not. Who knew if he would be able to come out? Life and death. Longao clenched his fists and his face was filled with determination. He kept telling himself that this time, no matter what happened, he had to succeed. Because this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for his family and sect. Once he succeeded, the dragon sect and his family would have the opportunity to stand above the four major forces in the future. I will definitely succeed. Longao finally took a step forward. The moment he stepped into the passage, Longao knew that he no longer had the heart to regret. Because of this, Longao clenched his teeth and quickened his pace. He directly entered the passage and shot into the grave of the gods. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared into the pitch-black space of the passage. At night, a chilly wind blew and the entire world was covered in a layer of haze. It was very oppressive, as if it couldn't be penetrated. Chapter 623. Sin City. Within God's tomb. The moment Longao appeared, Nameless Person appeared too. Looking at the teen who suddenly appeared, Nameless Person didn't expect it. He asked in shock, Longao, why are you here? Nameless Person thought about it but he couldn't understand why Lin Fan had to return even though he had already left. If he hadn't stopped him, Longao would have been dead. How could he appear here? He was just asking to die. Senior, to be honest, I came to God's tomb for the inheritance of the God path. Longao didn't hide anything. This was because he was betting that Nameless Person would help him. Even if he didn't agree, at least he wouldn't let go of such a chance. After hearing this, Nameless Person's face was dark and sunken. It was as ugly as it could get. Longao, I understand what you mean. But do you think you can take away the inheritance of the God path? Although his voice was dark and cold, Nameless Person signaled Longao with his eyes. His meaning was simple. Actually, Longao had guessed what Nameless Person meant. But since he was already here, it would be a pain in the ass if he left so easily. He had thought about it. Since he entered God's tomb, he wouldn't give up until he reached his goal. Even if he faced many difficulties, he wouldn't give up. This was Longao, this was his persistence. Otherwise, Longao wouldn't have been able to last for 10 years. Longao, God's tomb isn't something you can touch. If you leave now, I can help you. If not, it will be too late. Senior, I hope you can help me. If it was a normal person, Nameless Person would have swallowed him. But for so many years, he had been guarding here and hadn't seen anyone. Now that he finally saw a dragon family disciple, of course, he felt really close. In the eyes of the Nameless Man, no matter what level the Long family was, they were all part of the Long family. However, the Long family had divided the Long family into different levels in the past. Moreover, Long family members below level 3 were not allowed to enter the Dragon Valley. Unknowingly, this had divided the Long family. Moreover, this time, Longao entered the graveyard of the gods so boldly to fight for the inheritance of the divine Tao. Nameless praised him. Because of this, Nameless Person didn't say anything. He quietly led Longao into another secret room. He heaved a sigh of relief and said softly, Longao, let me tell you the truth. Behind the grave of the gods, there are super factions. We are just looking after this place. As expected. Actually, Longao had already guessed this. Otherwise, how could the Nameless Person walk around so casually? Senior, I've already said it very clearly. I'm in a very dangerous situation right now. I'm surrounded by enemies. Moreover, the Dragon Clan already knows that I'm a dragon warrior. The reason why they haven't made a move yet is because they want to see the outcome of the battle between me and the 4 major powers. If I lose, the Dragon Clan will definitely deal with me. F***ck hearing this, Nameless Person cursed and said, I don't know what the Long family wants. If this goes on, the Long family will be in danger. Longao didn't say anything. He didn't want to judge the Long family in front of Nameless Person. No matter what, Nameless person came from a Long family. If he had to choose between him and the Long family, Nameless person would definitely choose the Long family and not him. Longao, you're a talent. Because of your courage, I can help you get 10 divine Tao inheritances. 10 divine Tao inheritances. To an ordinary person, it was something that could only be chanced upon. However, Longao wasn't willing to do so. Because he was taking such a huge risk in order to get more divine Tao inheritances. Longao, you're not willing? Senior, I hope to get 500 divine Tao inheritances. 500. Longao's words scared the Nameless person. He said fiercely, Longao, are you looking for death? 500 divine Tao inheritances? The other party will definitely know about it. By then, even I will be implicated. You can't do that. Senior, since you don't belong here, why don't you leave? Longao couldn't understand this. Because with Nameless person's status and strength, it shouldn't be difficult for him to leave. Could it be that he couldn't break the seal? You've already guessed it. That's right. The seal here has a huge restriction on us so-called God souls. Therefore, we can't leave at all. Senior, I can help you get out of here immediately. Longao, thank you for your kind intentions. However, I can tell you clearly that it's impossible. The moment a God soul touches the seal and leaves, the other party will know about it instantly. Given their strength, it's way too difficult for them to escape. Nodding his head, Longao seemed to have guessed it. Thinking about it, he said, Senior, if I have a way to help you leave this place, can you help me get all the divine Tao inheritances here? You have a way. That's right. Furthermore, I can do it without anyone noticing. I definitely won't implicate you. How about it? Nameless person lowered his head and started thinking. If he said that he didn't want to leave this place, he would be lying. After all, to be sealed in this godforsaken place with no light at all and living a life that wasn't human was something that no one would want. Longao, can you really do it? Yes. All right. If you can really help me leave this place without me noticing, I'll calculate for you. You won't be able to bring away the God souls with consciousness. As for the God souls without consciousness, there are roughly 800 of them. I can help you bring all of them away. 800 God souls. Hearing this, Longao's heart skipped a beat. If he could obtain 800 God souls, that would mean that after a few years, his family and sect would have an additional 800 divine Tao martial artists. What kind of concept was that? 800 divine Tao martial artists. Once they appeared, it would be enough to scare the 4 major forces to death. Senior, what should we do now? Nameless person seemed to have decided to believe in Longao. After thinking about it, he said, You have to help me lure away a few God souls. If you have the strength, the chances of success will be high. As for whether we can leave by then, it'll depend on luck. Longao was clear that Nameless person didn't want to continue staying in this godforsaken place. Otherwise, he wouldn't have helped him this time. At most, he would give him 10 divine Tao inheritances on account that he was from a Long family. Just like that, Longao followed Nameless person's instructions and silently came to the God soul grave. Within the God soul grave, according to Nameless person, there were over 1,000 God soul graves. There were roughly 800 God souls without consciousness and 200 with consciousness. However, there were only 5 caretakers. Chapter 624. 5 caretakers, not counting the Nameless person, there were 4 godly spirits. The Nameless person's intention was simple. He wanted him to distract the 4 godly spirits so that he could help him snatch the godly spirits. This was too difficult. There was no problem in distracting the 4 godly spirits. The only problem was how long he could hold them off. Entering the god's grave wasn't scary. What was scary was attracting the 4 godly spirits. Entering the god's grave was a 90% chance of death. Attracting the attention of the 4 godly spirits was a 100% chance of death. After thinking about it, Longao thought of an excellent idea. Because through Long Fu's hard work, he had already re-refined several tens of thousands of corpse slaves. If he borrowed the power of the corpse slaves to divert the attention of the 4 great divine souls, wouldn't he be able to stay out of it? Thinking about it, Longao wouldn't joke around with his life. Tens of thousands of corpse slaves appearing at the same time gave the 4 divine souls a fright, because the 4 of them didn't know where these corpse slaves suddenly came from. But the 4 godly spirits didn't dare to be careless and immediately chased. Longao, what are you doing? Senior, let me help you. No need, just distract the 4 of them. Senior, this isn't good. Staring fixedly at the nameless person in front of him, Longao's face was slightly gloomy and cold. He coughed and said, Senior, I'll help you. Scram. As an old fox, how could the nameless person not know what Longao was thinking? The power of the godly spirits was very strong. Even Longao didn't dare to fight them head-on. The more the nameless person acted like this, the more Longao was sure of his guess. Nameless wanted nothing more than to use him to leave the graveyard of the gods. Moreover, he could secretly take away the 800 divine soul legacies. This way, Nameless would obtain a complete victory and he would become the scapegoat. Nameless person, you are really something. Humph, Longao, every man for himself, and the devil takes the hindmost. I still possess 800 divine Tao inheritances. I can completely create 800 divine Tao martial artists. At that time, I can move unhindered in the world. Who dares to provoke me? Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Every man for himself and the devil takes the hindmost. Longao didn't comment much on John Doe's values. This was because there was nothing wrong with not looking out for oneself. This was just like how birds die for food and humans die for wealth. Longao, if you don't want to die, then listen to me obediently. I can promise you that as long as you help me leave this place, I will give you 10 divine Tao inheritances. How about it? Longao didn't say any more nonsense. Instead, he swung his saber backward. The current blood-sucking frenzy blade was totally different. It had merged with the 5-claw golden dragon and 108 god lightning pearls. It swept around wildly and pressed down on Nameless person. As everyone knew, whether it was the soul or the divine soul, the nemesis was the power of lightning. Especially the power of lightning tribulation contained within the 108 divine lightning beads. Even the Nameless person did not dare to be easily enveloped by it. Otherwise, even if he did not die, he would probably be crippled. Nameless person, you are so shameless. Longao's voice rumbled. The 4 divine souls that hadn't destroyed all the corpse demons were stunned. They instantly returned and looked at Longao and Nameless person. They instantly understood what had happened. The 4 divine souls weren't fools. Of course, they knew what had happened. One of them said, Nameless person, you want to leave with the divine Tao inheritances, aren't you a little too shameless? Longao, you won't leave here alive. Of course, Nameless person understood what Longao meant. Because of that, Nameless person was very proud. He wanted to kill Longao immediately and tear him apart. Longao knew very well that with his strength, if he were to fight alone, he wouldn't be a match for Nameless at all, even if he had the blood-sucking blade in his hand. It was precisely because of this that Longao had no choice but to attract the 4 great divine souls. This way, he might have a chance. Nameless person, you are asking to die. The 4 divine souls closed in and didn't care about Longao at all. This was because in their eyes, Longao's strength was too weak. They just needed to move their fingers and they could easily wipe out Longao. Because of this, the 4 divine souls all shot towards Nameless person. Actually, in the God Tomb, out of the thousands of divine souls, Nameless person was the strongest. If it was 1 against 2, he wouldn't fear any of them. But if it was 1 against 4, even Nameless person would find it hard to defend. But things had already reached such a stage. Nameless person knew that unless he could kill the 4 of them and leave with the divine Tao inheritances, the outcome would be catastrophic if the higher-ups found out. Nameless person hated Longao to the core. He had originally thought that victory was in his grasp, but Longao had disrupted the situation. Nameless person didn't expect that Longao didn't lure the 4 divine souls away personally. Instead, he released tens of thousands of spiritual beasts. Because of this, Longao was free to suspect him. Based on what Nameless Person wanted, Longao would lure the 4 divine souls away personally. If Longao died, he could hide the divine Tao inheritances and push everything to Longao. If Longao was lucky enough to survive, then he could secretly help Longao leave. At that time, he could leave with the divine Tao inheritances. No matter what, he would be the winner. In this battle, Nameless Person didn't lose to Longao but to the corpse slave. In the blink of an eye, the 5 divine souls were engaged in a life and death battle. The 4 divine souls' intentions were simple. They wanted to kill Nameless Person and claim credit from the higher-ups. Seeing the 5 great divine souls battle, Longao was immediately delighted in his heart. With such a rare opportunity, Longao naturally wouldn't choose to give up easily. While the 5 divine souls were fighting, he quietly came to the divine soul tomb. If it was an ordinary warrior, once they got close to the divine soul tomb, they would immediately be attacked by thousands of divine souls. But Longao's situation was different. Longao was very careful. He first used the lightning tribulation power in the blood-sucking blade, which was the so-called 108 divine lightning beads, to form a shield around him. This way, the thousands of divine souls wouldn't dare to attack him. There were more than 1,000 divine souls. Longao didn't dare to touch the conscious divine souls. That was the same as courting death. Therefore, Longao specifically chose the unconscious divine souls. Such divine souls didn't have the slightest bit of attacking power. Once all of them were taken out, not only could he refine them and help himself to break through to a higher realm, but he could also make more supreme Tao warriors appear in his family and sect. Supreme Tao martial artists were the foundation of a sect. The more supreme Tao martial artists there were in a sect, the more powerful the sect was. If a sect or family could produce a supreme Tao martial artist, it could almost kill the 4 major forces in a second. Chapter 625. The 4 godly spirits and the Nameless One were fighting to the death. One had to admit that the Nameless One was indeed strong. Even in a situation where he was fighting 1 against 4, he was still not at a disadvantage. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Longao prepared to collect the inheritance of the godly spirits at the fastest speed. Actually, Longao was taking a huge risk because out of the thousands of godly spirits, there were a total of 200 that had consciousness. If 200 godly spirits were to join forces to attack him, the consequences would be unimaginable. It was because of this that Longao was extremely careful. But even so, he was still unable to get close to the godly spirits. Even for the godly spirits without consciousness, Longao was unable to take them away. The reason was simple. The 200 godly spirits with consciousness were protecting the other godly spirits with all their might. What should he do? Longao was no fool. He knew very well that once the result of the battle between the Nameless One and the 4 godly spirits was out, regardless of whether the Nameless One won or the 4 godly spirits won, he believed that both sides would deal with him. At that time, he would really have no way out. The 4 godly spirits were joining forces to fight the Nameless One. The battle between both sides was constantly escalating. It would not be easy to determine the victor in a short period of time. Longao thought about it but could not come up with a good idea. In the end, out of helplessness, he could only connect to the dragon seal space. Getting straight to the point, Longao asked somewhat anxiously, "Long Fu, is there any way to deal with the godly spirits here?" Before Long Fu could reply, Longao continued, "I don't have much time. Once the victor is decided, I'll be in big trouble." Regarding the situation outside, Long Fu was naturally aware of it clearly. "Master, if you want to take away the godly spirits here, there's only one way." "What way?" "Borrow the power of the blood pool." "Blood pool?" Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was shocked. He naturally knew the power of the blood pool. It could refine all spirits. But how could he borrow the power of the blood pool? Longao was very curious. He stared at Long Fu in front of him, not knowing what Long Fu wanted to do. "Master, although using the power of the blood pool to deal with the soul can ensure that nothing goes wrong, you will be in great danger. If you are not careful, You will be devoured by the blood pool. Long Fu, are you unable to control the blood pool? Master, if I could control the blood pool, the two old masters wouldn't have died back then. Heh. When he heard what Long Fu said, Longao was completely bewildered. Because he truly couldn't figure it out. Since Long Fu was the spirit of the dragon seal, why was he unable to control the blood pool? Master, you don't know. When the dragon seal descended, it took countless years to give birth to me. However, at that time, a huge blood pool appeared in the world that could refine everything. Perhaps the dragon seal had a spirit and forcefully sealed the blood pool. It was also at that time that the dragon seal's power was reduced by 9 levels. Otherwise, the dragon seal would be the #1 divine tool in the world. Longao fiercely swallowed his saliva. He never imagined that the dragon seal had such a powerful origin. According to what Long Fu said, not only the dragon seal, but the blood pool also had a powerful origin. Master, you don't need to ask about the origin of the blood pool because I don't know either. Therefore, I rarely use the power of the blood pool because no one knows what will happen once the blood pool is used. Nodding his head, Longao had never seen Long Fu so solemn. It seemed that the blood pool was indeed not simple. Long Fu, are you saying that once I use the blood pool and the blood pool reappears in the world, there will be a lot of trouble? That's right. Right now, the dragon seal is using 90% of its power to seal the blood pool, so you can't sense how powerful the blood pool is. Once you use the power of the blood pool and lose control of it, then once the blood pool reappears in the world, the entire continent will be devoured and refined. Long Fu, is it that exaggerated? Long Fu helplessly shrugged his shoulders and said, Master, you should consider whether to use the blood pool or not. I can guarantee that the dragon seal can suppress the blood pool and prevent it from reappearing in the world. Then what do you mean? Longao naturally understood Long Fu's words. Although the blood pool was suppressed by the dragon seal and couldn't reappear in the world, Long Fu would have used it long ago if he could use it casually. Why would he wait until now? Master, my meaning is very simple. Once you use the power of the blood pool, although you can devour all the divine souls here, even if it's the 5 powerful divine souls, you will be eroded by the blood pool. Whether you can withstand it will depend on your luck. Without waiting for Longao to speak, Long Fu continued, Master, if you can withstand it, then you will have a complete victory this time. Once you successfully refine over 1,000 divine inheritances, not only will it give you the power you need, I can also help you create over 1,000 divine warriors within 3 years. Longao didn't say anything because he knew that things weren't that simple. Master, if you are devoured by the blood pool and can't withstand it, then you will be in big trouble. At that time, you will become a blood pool puppet. Blood pool puppet. Longao clearly understood what Long Fu meant. Since that was the case, what should he choose? Master, what do you think? Give me a reply as soon as possible. Although the battle outside might end soon. For a moment, Longao didn't know what to do. Long Fu's meaning was very clear. If the blood pool wasn't terrifying, then Long Fu wouldn't be so serious. What should he choose? Longao was very clear that if he didn't use the power of the blood pool, not to mention taking away all the divine souls here, even being able to leave here would be the biggest problem. However, if he used the blood pool, with his strength, even with the suppression of the dragon seal, he believed that he could be eroded by the blood pool at any time and fall into eternal damnation. Should he choose to use the blood pool? Or should he choose not to use the blood pool? Longao gritted his teeth and said firmly, Long Fu, I am prepared to use the blood pool. What should I do? Like he had guessed it, Long Fu nodded his head. Next, Longao looked at the many divine souls in front of him. He was prepared to use the blood pool to take away all the divine souls here, which was the so-called God Path legacy. Longao stood there quietly and looked on calmly at the divine soul battle. Nameless Person and the 4 divine souls clashed. As the battle continued to escalate, the 5 divine souls battle had reached its climax and the victor could be decided at any moment. But Longao just stood there and didn't try to take the souls. Nameless Person who was fighting suddenly saw Longao standing there in a daze. He was really curious and forced the 4 divine souls away. Nameless Person said, "Stop. Nameless Person, you dare to betray Master. You have committed a crime. If you stop now, we can spare your life." Chapter 626. Nameless Being stared at him fiercely. "Longao, you deserve to die." Sneering, Longao said indifferently, "Nameless Being, you asked me to come over and help you get the godly souls. But in the end, you turned your back on me and wanted to kill me with a borrowed knife. You're really shameless. You." Without giving Nameless Being any chance to speak, the 4 godly souls said furiously, "Traitor. Nameless Being, I'd like to see how you're going to take away the godly souls here today. He definitely won't be able to. I'm prepared to take away all the godly souls, including the 5 of you." Hearing Longao's words, whether it was the 4 godly souls or Nameless Being, they suddenly laughed out loud as though they had heard the funniest thing in the world. A mere saint actually dared to boast so shamelessly in front of them. Wasn't he courting death? Even if they weren't at their peak strength, the power of the godly souls couldn't be underestimated. Not to mention thousands of godly souls joining forces, even a single godly soul could easily kill the other party. It was because of this that the 5 godly souls didn't care about Longao at all. However, Longao looked at them coldly with contempt written all over his face. "I'll let you guys witness the power of the blood pool." Since he had already decided, Longao didn't hesitate at all. He immediately followed Long Fu's instructions and used his life essence blood and soul power to trigger the blood pool. A terrifying bloody aura instantly enveloped the entire grave of the gods. The 5 godly souls seemed to have sensed something. Just as the 4 godly souls were about to send help, they realized in horror that they were powerless. Long Fu had already said that if it was a true godly warrior, the blood pool would be forcefully suppressed by the dragon seal and it would be hard to deal with a godly warrior. But it was different now. In the grave of the gods, there were godly souls and the blood pool was the nemesis of godly souls. The outcome was obvious. The huge blood pool left the space of the dragon seal and floated in mid-air of the grave of the gods. The 4 divine souls were unable to communicate with their master. They could only stare blankly at the blood pool in the air. They had no idea what it was. However, none of the divine souls were fools. Of course, they knew that Longao was so arrogant and had regained his confidence. Moreover, they could clearly sense the terrifying power of the blood pool. Because of this, the 5 divine souls did not dare to hesitate and immediately launched their attacks. Be it Nameless Person, the 4 godly souls, or all the sealed godly souls, their auras became chaotic. They started to attack Longao and the blood pool in the air. A huge pool of blood. The smell of blood enveloped the entire graveyard of the gods. Longao looked coldly at all the divine souls without the slightest fear. Suddenly, Longao's entire body flew up. Before the divine souls could figure out what was going on, Longao's body had already entered the blood pool. Longao jumped into the blood pool? Was Longao courting death? The 5 divine souls could clearly sense the bloody power of the blood pool. Not to mention a puny saint, even the 5 divine souls did not dare to jump in casually. Just as the 5 divine souls thought that Longao was definitely going to die, the blood pool suddenly exploded with a terrifying bloody power. It turned into sharp swords and started to attack the 5 divine souls and all the other divine souls. One had to admit that the power of the blood pool was too strong. Even the divine souls could not withstand it. Devouring the universe, its power was unstoppable. The sharp swords enveloped the divine souls. Before they could react, they were all sucked in by the blood pool. Regardless of whether they were conscious or unconscious, none of them were spared. Looking at the situation, the 5 divine souls trembled. They did not dare to stay any longer and immediately turned to leave. However, at this moment, Longao suddenly shot out from the blood pool. His entire body was dyed in fresh blood. Moreover, there was a bloody aura coming from Longao's body. It was extremely terrifying. "Longao, you." Longao stared coldly at the 5 divine souls. As for the rest of the divine souls, they were all sucked in by the blood pool. There were no exceptions. Longao held the blood-sucking broadsword in his hand. His entire body seemed to have merged with the broadsword. At this moment, the man and the broadsword had truly become one. Without giving the nameless divine soul any chance to speak, Longao slashed with the blood-sucking broadsword. At this moment, although Longao was still a saint, the situation was completely different. Longao had temporarily taken over the power of the entire blood pool, so at this moment, Longao was not afraid of the 5 great divine souls at all. He chose to take the initiative to attack. He did not give the 5 great divine souls the slightest chance to breathe at all. He pressed on step by step, very powerful. The 5 divine souls never expected that in just a few seconds, Longao's strength would grow to such an extent. Even if the 5 of them joined forces, they were no match for him. What in the world was going on? The 5 divine souls did not know what was going on at all. Therefore, they did not dare to fight head-on. They only hoped to avoid this god of death. However, the more the 5 divine souls acted like this, the more Longao chased after them. Slash after slash. Want to leave? Longao's voice sounded like it came from hell. Just after the blood pool absorbed all the divine souls, he suddenly appeared in front of the 5 divine souls. Having just witnessed the terrifying power of the blood pool, the 5 divine souls did not dare to fight back. However, at this moment, the blood pool was like a suction cup, sucking in the 5 divine souls. He laughed maniacally. Innate ability, Dragon's Roar. Suddenly, a huge black dragon phantom appeared behind Longao, and a dragon roar resounded throughout the entire cave, lasting for a long time. Hearing the dragon's roar, the nameless soul was not surprised. However, the other 4 divine souls did not know why Longao could let out a dragon's roar. Before the 5 divine souls could do anything, they sensed that their bodies had been locked down. Not only that, even the flow of time around them changed. It started to flow backward. Although it was only 3 seconds, the 5 divine souls knew what it meant. Longao, what did you do? With a cold smile, Longao released his innate ability, Dragon's Roar. Not only that, but Longao also used Blood Drinker. This slash was enough to explain everything. Longao did not hold back at all. In fact, Longao had used the power of the blood pool this time. The blood pool had gradually affected his mind, especially when he used the power of the entire blood pool. In the end, Longao's strength was too low. He could not control the blood pool at all. This was with the suppression of the dragon seal. Otherwise, Longao would have been corroded by the blood pool as soon as he used it. He would have become a blood pool puppet. However, Longao's situation was already very bad. The more he dealt with the divine souls, the more the blood pool took the opportunity to corrode his soul. Chapter 627. In order to obtain the inheritance of the divine Tao, Longao had given up everything. Longao was clear that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and he couldn't miss it. It was precisely because of this that Longao would use the blood pool. Moreover, he would enter the blood pool and use the power of the blood pool to seal all the divine souls. The 5 godly souls had no power to resist. Longao definitely wouldn't kill the 5 godly souls. Otherwise, wouldn't he have nothing to do in the graveyard of the gods? After settling all the godly souls in the graveyard of the gods, Longao heaved a sigh of relief. Just as Longao was about to remove the connection with the blood pool, Long Fu's anxious voice came. Nodding his head, Longao didn't dare to be careless. Borrowing the power of the blood pool, he forcefully opened the graveyard of the gods and left quickly. A minute after Longao disappeared, 3 figures suddenly appeared. Looking at the empty space where the thousands of godly souls had disappeared, the 3 figures' faces changed. What the hell happened? Who was it? Longao, who had just left the graveyard of the gods, didn't dare to stay any longer. He immediately returned to Sin City with his fastest speed. In the secret chamber. Longao let out a painful roar and rolled on the ground. His body was trembling and his face was pale. His eyes were red and even his skin was slowly turning red. Master, you must hold on. Don't let the blood pool erode your mind. Otherwise, you'll be in big trouble. Long Fu was worried to the extreme. However, with his strength, he couldn't suppress the blood pool. The problem now was that not only him, but even the dragon seal space didn't have enough power to suppress the blood pool. Therefore, everything depended on his master. Gritting his teeth and persevering, this time it was a complete success. Just the thousands of godly souls, once the inheritance was passed down, the dragon sect and the Long family would have thousands of divine Dao warriors. What kind of concept was that? Longao couldn't care less about Long Fu because at that moment, he had to use all of his strength to resist the corrosion of the blood pool. If he was slightly careless, he would be corroded and controlled by the blood pool and become a blood pool puppet. Longao let out another painful roar. In the end, he was unable to resist the corrosion of the blood pool. No matter what, the blood pool was too strong. Even the dragon seal at the peak of its original body had to use 90% of its strength to barely suppress the blood pool. In the end, Longao's soul was corroded by the blood pool and gradually disappeared. Everything was still. He was dressed in black and had fiery red hair. His eyes were red and his cold face was filled with killing intent. There was only one kind of feeling that he gave people, and that was that he wanted to kill. Slaughter. Endless slaughter. The blood pool itself represented slaughter. Master, you must hold on. Within the dragon seal space, Long Fu naturally knew what had happened to Longao. His face was filled with worry, but at this moment, he was powerless to do anything. In other words, Longao had been corroded by the blood pool and was controlled by it, becoming a tool for killing from head to toe. Although Longao was still a saint, his strength was stronger than a divine Dao warrior. Because Longao represented the entire blood pool. Even if the blood pool was suppressed by the dragon seal and could only display 1,000th of its power, it was enough to destroy the world. Longao appeared in the sky above Sin City and looked at it coldly. What's wrong with Master? I don't know. Something seems wrong. Before the two saints and the others could react, the blood-sucking frenzy saber suddenly appeared in Longao's hand and he slashed at Sin City without warning. With Longao's current strength, this slash seemed ordinary, but one could imagine how terrifying the power of this slash was. This slash had the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. It slashed the city of Sin violently. The entire city was split into two and countless people died. Some people didn't even have time to react before they were devoured by the slash and disappeared from this world forever. The two saints were completely dumbfounded as they watched their sect leader disappear without a trace in the blink of an eye. Not only the two of them, but everyone else was dumbfounded by what had just happened. What was wrong with the master? Why did he attack Sin City for no reason? As everyone knew, Sin City was Longao's second base. No matter who attacked Sin City, Longao would not do such a thing. Master, something is wrong. Let's hurry back to the sect and tell the others about this. Okay. Dugu Bai and Long Potian appeared at the same time. Fortunately, the two of them were not in Sin City. Otherwise, Longao's slash would have killed them both. Until now, the two of them were still scared. They could not figure out what was going on with their grandmaster. Furthermore, their grandmaster's saber seemed to be too powerful. They did not even have the thought of fighting back in the face of this saber. Let's go. Dugu Bai and Long Potian looked at Sin City in front of them deeply and swallowed their saliva. It was too scary. When did the master's strength become so terrifying? At this moment, Sin City was cut in half. Not only was it split into two, even the space in the two places was distorted. In other words, it was impossible to go from the left side to the right side. It was as if the saber radiance blocked it. If one tried to force their way through, they would be swallowed by the saber radiance. What kind of concept was this? The news of Longao attacking Sin City spread across the entire 9 states, including the 9-state spirit realm, as if it had grown wings. This time, the 4 major forces did not believe in Longao at all. Because Longao had retreated in order to advance, the 4 major forces had almost suffered heavy losses. In other words, the 4 major forces all believed that Longao had purposely set up a trap to lure them in. They had already suffered a loss once. The 4 major forces would not fall for it again. Not to mention the 4 major forces, Even the others would not believe this. Longao attacking Sin City? What a joke. Longao attacking Sin City would be unless his brain was flooded with water. Because everyone knew that Sin City was Longao's territory. Longao attacking himself was the biggest joke in the world. Although they did not want to believe it, the four major forces and the others all rushed into Sin City. They wanted to see the rumor that Longao had almost destroyed Sin City. The four major forces and the others who did not believe it were all dumbfounded when they saw Sin City's appearance. The news might be fake, but Sin City was real. The ground was full of corpses. Sin City was being cleaned up. At a glance, corpses were everywhere. Sin City looked as if it had just been massacred. At this moment, everyone started to believe it. However, they still could not figure out what was wrong with Longao. Why did he suddenly attack Sin City? What happened? Chapter 628. The matter of Longao attacking Sin City had completely baffled everyone in the world. No one knew what medicine Longao was selling in his gourd. Spirit domain of the 9 states. Longao walked alone on the road quietly. His eyes were red and he was emitting an invisible murderous aura. No one dared to get close to him. If it was a year ago, no one would know Longao. But at this moment, almost everyone in the spirit domain of the 9 states knew Longao. They knew this legendary figure who had risen to power. Look, isn't that Longao? Master of Dragon Sect? That's impossible. How could Longao appear here? You must be seeing things. Everyone's expression changed when they said that they were seeing things. They stared at the young man not far away. It was hard to imagine that the Master of Dragon Sect dared to appear here so openly. But the feud between Longao and the four forces had reached the point where they were like fire and water. It was a situation where one of them had to die. Moreover, the spirit domain of the 9 states was the territory of the four forces. Now that Sin City had been destroyed by Longao, it meant that Longao had no power in the spirit domain of the 9 states. Longao was now in the spirit domain of the 9 states. Wasn't he courting death? Everyone looked at Longao in a daze. Some curious people quietly followed him, wanting to see why Longao came to the spirit domain of the 9 states. Ethereal Palace? When everyone saw Longao stepping into the territory of the Ethereal Palace, they seemed to have guessed what was going on. Longao, how dare you step into the Ethereal Palace? You're courting death. Feng Wui and Liu Buming appeared at the foot of the Ethereal Palace. When they saw Longao suddenly appear in front of them, their faces turned cold and their bodies were filled with murderous aura. The two of them had never thought that Longao would appear in the Ethereal Palace at this time. Anyone could guess what Longao was here for. Because of this, Feng Wui and Liu Buming's face became colder and colder. Longao did not put the Ethereal Palace in his eyes at all. It was simply unbearable. The secret cave could bear it, but the chrysanthemum could not bear it. However, what made the two of them even more furious was that Longao ignored them and did not speak. His eyes were red, his face was pale, and his body was emitting traces of killing intent. What happened to Longao? Of course, Feng Wui and Liu Buming had also heard about Sin City. Combined with the current situation of Longao, the two of them had already guessed that something must have happened to Longao. The two of them were overjoyed. If they could take advantage of this opportunity to eliminate Longao, it would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them and the Ethereal Palace. Longao's strong rise had indeed caused the Ethereal Palace to be unable to sleep at night. Especially the undead army that Longao had created. It was a constant threat to the Ethereal Palace. If Longao died here, then everything would return to peace. Saint. Longao was only a saint. In the eyes of the Ethereal Palace, Longao was not even worth a fart. There was no need for a martial artist above the Earth Saint realm to appear. Just the two of them were enough to easily kill the other party. Standing quietly on the spot, Longao did not speak. He just stared at the two people in front of him and the Ethereal Palace behind them. This time, Longao went to the Ethereal Palace because of his original intention. According to Longao's current state of mind, he could not recognize anyone. However, the hatred between him and the ethereal palace made Longao only remember one thing, and that was to destroy the ethereal palace. It was precisely because of this that Longao came with his own intentions. Kill. Before the two of them could speak, Longao continued to say die. Hearing this, both Feng Wui and Liu Buming's faces turned extremely ugly. They did not continue to talk nonsense. If they continued to dilly-dally, where would the ethereal palace's face go? Where would the two of them put their faces? Because of this, Feng Wui and Liu Buming instantly rushed out. This time, the two of them obviously wanted to end the battle quickly and kill Longao immediately. However, before the two of them could figure out the situation, a dragon's roar resounded between heaven and earth. What was going on? Before Feng Wui and Liu Buming could react, a huge dragon appeared behind Longao's back. Dragon roars resounded, one after another, continuous. Liu Buming and Feng Wui were instantly locked onto their bodies. Time began to flow backward. At this moment, Longao moved and slashed out with the bloodthirsty broadsword in his hand. As saints, it was almost impossible for Longao to kill the two of them in one move. However, at this moment, Longao was completely different. Using the power of the entire blood pool, not to mention two puny saints, Longao could even kill a supreme Dao warrior in one move. Longao, don't be presumptuous. At this moment, a majestic voice came from the ethereal palace. Then, a figure suddenly appeared. It was the only titled Great Emperor of the ethereal palace, Great Emperor Wei Lin. However, Longao ignored Great Emperor Wei Lin and slashed out with the bloodthirsty broadsword in his hand. Great Emperor Wei Lin, who had just appeared, originally wanted to kill Longao directly. However, he had to save Feng Wui and Liu Buming now. Helpless, Wei Lin was about to attack when he suddenly felt the terror of the broadsword light. He didn't dare to approach at all. Just like that, Feng Wui and Liu Buming were killed in one move before Great Emperor Wei Lin's eyes. The two of them were swallowed by the broadsword light. Just like that, Longao killed the two of them in one move. Great Emperor Wei Lin looked at everything that happened in front of him in a daze. He said anxiously in a gloomy voice, Longao, you've gone too far. Before Great Emperor Wei Lin could attack, Longao rushed out first. The terrifying broadsword light arrived instantly and the dragon's roar was heard. His innate ability, Dragon's Roar, appeared again. Innate ability, Great Emperor Wei Lin exclaimed. He never expected that Longao had awakened his innate ability. Of course, he knew what it meant. That was why Great Emperor Wei Lin didn't dare to be careless and quickly dodged. Longao was fighting Great Emperor Wei Lin with the strength of a saint. It was a huge joke in itself. Because everyone knew that the gap between a saint and a titled Great Emperor was too big. The two of them were not on the same level at all. Therefore, in the eyes of outsiders, Longao was courting death by taking the initiative to attack Great Emperor Wei Lin. As the saying went, once an expert made a move, one would know whether he was skilled or not. Great Emperor Wei Lin, who was originally full of confidence, was shocked when he felt the terrifying broadsword light released by Longao. He didn't dare to be careless and immediately turned to flee. Great Emperor Wei Lin ran away. Great Emperor Wei Lin ran away. Seeing Wei Lin run away, everyone was completely dumbfounded because no one was willing to believe that Longao had killed two saints in one move and even scared Great Emperor Wei Lin away. What was going on? Everyone was a little confused and didn't know what was going on. Could it be that Longao had broken through the titled Great Emperor realm and reached the Supreme Dao realm? Chapter 629. If it was the previous Longao, he would definitely chase after Wei Lin. But now, Longao's mind was controlled by the blood pool. His mind was filled with killing. In other words, as long as he could kill, it didn't matter if he killed Wei Lin or not. Looking at the ethereal palace in front of him, Longao suddenly sneered. At this moment, Longao flew in the air and came to the ethereal palace at the fastest speed. A dragon's roar was heard. Longao tried to use the dragon's roar to lock down the entire ethereal palace. If the Long family knew about this, they would be shocked to death. Longao's blood-red hair danced wildly. His entire body turned blood-red in an instant. He stood in the air like a killing god. At this moment, the entire ethereal palace was in an uproar. Everyone seemed to be shrouded in killing. No matter who it was, even if it was a martial artist above the Earthsage realm, they wouldn't dare to go against Longao. They could only choose to avoid him temporarily. Die! The blood-sucking wild blade in Longao's hand slashed down fiercely. 1 slash, 2 slashes. In just a few seconds, he had already slashed out more than a dozen slashes. The terrifying blade light landed on the ethereal palace. Longao could easily destroy the ethereal palace with the help of the blood pool. However, Longao's mind was controlled. He only slashed a few times and didn't follow up. Otherwise, the ethereal palace would be destroyed this time. Longao left, but the ethereal palace was like a deep hell. Longao's destruction almost destroyed the entire ethereal palace. In the end, the ethereal palace was able to survive, but they also suffered heavy losses. They lost tens of thousands of people. In other words, Longao's slashes just now killed tens of thousands of people. What kind of concept was this? The more the blood-sucking frenzy blade killed, the more powerful it was. Hence, it was called blood-sucking. The remaining people cleaned up the mess one by one. However, many of them were extremely worried. After all, Longao seemed to have gone crazy. Moreover, his strength was so strong that even the old ancestor wouldn't be able to stop him. Wei Lin the Great returned and looked at the destroyed ethereal palace. His face was extremely gloomy and ugly. In just a few minutes, the ethereal palace was destroyed. Ever since the establishment of the ethereal palace, nothing like this had ever happened before. If news of this were to spread, the ethereal palace would be utterly humiliated. The destruction of the ethereal palace was a small matter. Wei Lin the Great had just been scared away by Longao. That was the real humiliation. Ever since Wei Ling became a great emperor, especially a titled great emperor, such a thing had never happened before. One move. He couldn't even block one move from his opponent. Even he himself couldn't believe it, let alone others. Wei Lin the Great wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew that with Longao's strength, even an Earth Saint could easily kill him, let alone a match for him. In other words, Wei Lin the Great had already guessed that Longao's strength had suddenly skyrocketed for some unknown reason. However, his mind wasn't clear and he was like a killing tool. Suddenly, Wei Lin the Great sneered. His lips curled into a cold smile as he muttered to himself, "Since you've become a killing tool, I'll impeach everyone in the world to deal with you together. So what if you're strong? It'll be strange if I want to tire you to death." The news of Longao slaughtering the ethereal palace instantly spread throughout the 9-state spirit domain. Longao killed 2 saints, Feng Wui and Liu Buming, and even scared away the titled Great Emperor Wei Lin. However, the other experts didn't dare to show their faces. What kind of concept was that? Everyone knew that Longao was only a saint. If that was the case, how did Longao do it? No matter how they thought about it, no one knew what happened to Longao. Why would Longao's strength suddenly skyrocket and slaughter the ethereal palace? Although they couldn't guess, Longao's actions had indeed shocked the world. Especially the 3 major forces, the 3rd-grade Longao family, the Nether Mansion, and the Imperial City. Everyone was in danger. Since Longao had the strength to slaughter the ethereal palace, he also had the strength to slaughter the 3 major forces. As the saying went, it was better to be safe than sorry. What if Longao really came to deal with the 3 major forces? How could they resist? However, Longao had scared away the great Emperor Wei Lin. What kind of concept was that? Ordinary people might not know about the great Emperor Wei Lin, but how could the higher-ups of the 3 major forces not know? The great Emperor Wei Lin had broken through to the titled Great Emperor realm a long time ago and was very strong. Even so, he still couldn't resist Longao. Longao was in the Supreme Dao realm? Thinking of Longao's terrifying strength, everyone was in danger. They couldn't wait for Longao to fall off the cliff. When Longao had just slaughtered the ethereal palace, the great Emperor Wei Lin directly announced to the world. The general content was simple. It was nothing more than saying that Longao had lost his mind. His mind was controlled by an expert and he was ready to slaughter the world. The ethereal palace was only the first stop. The next stop would be any of the three major forces. A killing tool. Longao had already become a killing tool. The news of Longao becoming a killing tool had already spread like wildfire. Everyone knew about it. However, even if everyone knew that Longao was already a killing tool, so what? Longao was no longer the same as before. He could scare away the great Emperor Wei Lin and slaughter the ethereal palace. Unless it was a super sect like the Long family, no one in the nine-state spirit domain could resist Longao. Because of this, when everyone knew about this news, they were only afraid and worried. However, there was nothing they could do. Next, the great Emperor Wei Lin once again announced to the world that if they didn't unite, Longao would slaughter them one by one. This way, the great Emperor Wei Lin's intention was very clear. He was prepared to join forces to kill Longao. It was still the same saying. Two fists couldn't fight against four hands. Although Longao was very strong, he was still alone. The world was so big. Once they joined forces to deal with Longao, they believed that they could exhaust Longao to death. The great Emperor Wei Lin directly joined forces with the three major forces, the Nether Mansion, the third-grade Long family, and the Imperial City. He wanted to join forces with the entire nine-state spirit domain to deal with Longao. If it was in the past, especially after Longao retreated in order to advance, it would be very difficult for the four major forces to join forces. However, the situation now was different. Longao's strength increased greatly, causing the three major forces to be in danger. Furthermore, the great Emperor Wei Lin directly found the ancestors of the other three families. This way, things would become very simple. Just like this, the four major forces joined hands again and united everyone in the entire nine-region spirit domain to hunt down Longao together. And the four major forces' intention was very simple. They wanted to tire Longao to death through attrition warfare. Even if they couldn't kill Longao, they wanted to give Longao a sense of danger. They couldn't let Longao deal with the four major forces. After all, the four major forces didn't want to see such a thing happen. P.S. 5 chapters completed. Just now, the Alliance Master said that he wanted to read one more chapter, so Little Nine could only continue writing. There is still a 6th chapter after midnight. Consider it as an update for the Alliance Master. Chapter 630. The four major forces had joined hands and united everyone in the nine-state spirit realm to deal with Longao. 9 states, Long family's main hall. Everyone in the Long family had also received the news. Everyone was extremely worried as they did not know what had happened to Longao. Mu Lin had been crying ever since she knew that something had happened to her son. She was anxious and did not know what had happened to her son. Father, I have received news that Aoa has become a killing machine. His strength has increased tremendously. Not only did he kill 2 saints instantly, he even scared away Great Emperor Wei Lin and massacred the ethereal palace. Until now, Long Yi was still in disbelief. He did not know what had happened to his son. After thinking for a while, Long Yi continued, Great Emperor Wei Lin has already joined forces with the 4 major forces and mobilized the entire 9-state spirit realm to hunt down Aoa. If this is the case, I am afraid of Aoa. Although Long Yi did not finish his words, the meaning in his words was very clear. Aoa's strength was very strong and could even scare away titled Great Emperors. However, it was impossible for Aoa to fight against the entire 9 states. Longhao's face was equally cold. He did not expect the situation to develop to this stage. Pass down my order. No matter what happens, you must find Aoa. If you want to kill my grandson, you have to ask me first. Longhao was no longer the same as before. He had obtained the inheritance of the divine Tao and had the help of the old ancestor. His cultivation had improved tremendously and he had broken through to the Great Emperor realm. Although he was only a Crimson Great Emperor, it was no small matter. With Longhao's current strength, he could become one of the strongest in the 9 states. Moreover, Longhao had obtained the inheritance of the Divine Tao. It was believed that he would become a Divine Tao martial artist within a year or 3 years at most. As the strongest martial artist in the world, once Longhao became a Divine Tao martial artist, he would be able to become the overlord of the 9 states. It was also because of this that Longhao had unknowingly become more domineering and confident. "Father, I have already given the order. Everyone is scattered. All right, looks like we're in for a tough battle." The Long family and the Dragon sect had joined forces to send out people to compete with the 4 major forces to find Longao. Both sides had completely different intentions. The 4 major forces wanted to kill Longao, but the Dragon sect and the Long family wanted to protect Longao. The entire 9 prefectures, including the 9 prefectures' spirit realm, could be said to be in turmoil. And all of this was because of one person, Longao, a legendary figure. A legendary figure had now become a tool of slaughter. From start to end, no one knew what exactly happened to Longao's body. Spirit domain of the 9 states, inside the imperial city. Dad, this time, the old ancestor personally came out and joined forces with the 4 great powers to hunt down Longao. I don't know if this is a good or bad thing. It's hard to say, but killing Longao is ultimately beneficial to us. It can be considered as revenge for us. I really didn't expect Longao to be so powerful that he could scare away Great Emperor Wei Lin. Until now, I still can't believe it. Duan he also sighed because Longao had scared away Great Emperor Wei Lin. It could be said that the entire 9 prefectures was shaken. Dad, what should we do now? Let's observe the situation closely. On the other side, in the 3rd grade Long family's main hall. Long Yang and Long Forsaken also knew, but their expressions were ugly because everyone knew that Longao had awakened his innate ability. Moreover, it was extremely powerful and could even lock onto the enemy. Patriarch, I really didn't expect Longao to awaken his innate ability. Could it be that Longao has already gone to the Long family? Others might not know what Longao's awakening of his innate ability meant, but Long Yang and Long Forsaken knew. According to the rules of the Long family and common sense, if the disciples of the Long family wanted to awaken their innate ability, they had to go to the Long family ancestral hall to undergo the so-called baptism. If that was the case, could it be that Longao had really gone to the Long family ancestral hall to undergo the baptism? Long Forsaken shook his head and said, Longao can't possibly go to the Long family ancestral hall to undergo the baptism. Longao is not simple. Not only did he become a dragon warrior with his own strength, but he also awakened his innate ability. If we don't get rid of this person soon, he will definitely become a huge threat to us in the future. Patriarch, now that Longao has massacred the ethereal palace, the 4 major forces have joined forces to hunt down Longao. Even if Longao is powerful, I believe that it is impossible for him to escape from the pursuit. It will be difficult for him to escape death. Shaking his head, Long Forsaken said in a serious voice, this matter is not that simple. You and I know Longao's strength very well. Although I admit that Longao is very talented, do you believe that he can become a divine path warrior in just a few months? Patriarch, I don't believe it at all. Longao was only a saint before. In just a few months, no one in the world would choose to believe that he could break through to the divine path realm, let alone the 2 of them. The reason why Long Yang and Long Forsaken thought that Longao had broken through to the divine path realm was because Longao had scared away Wei Lin the Great. It was very simple. Wei Lin the Great was a titled Great Emperor. Even if it was an ordinary Great Emperor, it would not be easy for him to fight with Wei Lin. Since he could scare away Wei Lin the Great, it showed Longao's strength. After thinking for a while, Long Yang asked, Patriarch, what should we do now? This time in the East Royal City, the Long family in the west, the Nether Underworld Mansion in the south, and the Ethereal Palace in the north have joined forces with everyone in the spirit domain in the 9 states to hunt down Longao. If there are no accidents, Longao is probably dead. This way, we can have one less trouble. Long Yang seemed to want to say something but stopped. In the end, he could only sigh. After Longao killed 2 saints, scared away Wei Lin the Great, and massacred the ethereal palace, he disappeared. Whether it was the 4 forces, Dragon Sect, or the Long family, no matter how much manpower they used, they could not find any trace of Longao. Longao seemed to have disappeared into thin air. The more Longao acted like this, the more anxious the 4 forces were because no one knew where Longao was. If he suddenly appeared and massacred the other 3 forces, the Long family, the Nether Underworld Mansion, and the Imperial City, just like how he massacred the Ethereal Palace, what should they do then? The 4 forces were frantically searching for Longao. At this time, Longao suddenly appeared in the sky region of the 9 states, and at Longao's peak. Longao's sudden appearance scared everyone on Longao's peak. After all, the news of Longao becoming a killing tool had spread all over the world. Looking at the master in front of them with bloodshot eyes and murderous aura, no one dared to go forward. After a while, Long Haosha and the others heard the news and came over, especially Mu Lin and Long Yi, who seemed very excited. P.S. The 6th chapter of the Alliance Leaders Update has been delivered. It's 1:30, go to sleep quickly. Chapter 631. AOO. Long Haosha waved his hand and said seriously, something's wrong with AOO. At this time, everyone noticed that there was indeed something wrong with Longao. Both of his eyes were red, and his entire body was emitting a strong murderous aura, rolling over. What's wrong with Longao? Long Haosha gave Long Yi a look. Before Mu Lin could react, she was knocked out by Long Yi. Long Haosha's meaning was simple. After all, Longao's situation was special. As his mother, Mu Lin would not be able to accept her son's condition. Aoa, can you hear me? Longao stood quietly at his original spot. His eyes were red. It was as if he did not recognize anyone. Get out of my way. Longao did not stay. He stepped forward and walked towards Longao Peak. With every step, Longao's murderous aura was like the ocean. Wave after wave, even Long Haosha did not dare to resist. He could only step back obediently. Aoa, follow me. Hearing this voice, Long Ao's body trembled. But the blood pool was still the blood pool. It instantly took over Long Ao's mind. But at this moment, Long Ao's body suddenly disappeared. Others might not know what had happened, but how could Long Haosha not know? Without hesitation, Long Haosha immediately gave the order to seal the news. No matter who it was, no one was to leak the news. Anyone who disobeyed would be killed without mercy. Long Haosha released his aura and contacted the old ancestor. He also disappeared. No one could enter the cave without Long Baishan's permission. As soon as he stepped into the cave, Long Haosha saw his grandson standing at the side. He was very worried and asked, "Old ancestor, is Aoa okay?" Long Baishan's face was very serious. He sighed helplessly and said, "I don't know what happened to Aoa. He seems to be controlled by a terrifying bloody aura. If he is not treated in time, Aoa will only become a killing tool in the future." Killing tool? Hearing the old ancestor's words, Long Haosha was shocked. He asked anxiously, "Old ancestor, what should we do now?" "I don't know yet. I need to think about it." Long Ao didn't dare to disturb him. He just stood there quietly. The entire cave was silent. Long Batian had used some unknown method to temporarily control Long Ao. After a long time, Long Batian sighed and said, "Stabilize the clan first. Don't tell anyone about Aoa. Ancestor, do you have a way to save Aoa? Let's give it a try." With that, Long Batian and Long Ao disappeared from the cave. Long Ao's face was filled with worry and helplessness. Even now, no one knew what had happened to Long Ao. Why had he suddenly become like this? Who had caused it? There was no other way. Long Haosha also knew that he couldn't interfere in this situation. He could only hope that the old ancestor had a way to save Aoa. If Aoa really became a killing tool, there would be no place for Aoa in the world. Being able to scare away Wei Lin the Great did not mean that Aoa was truly invincible. Longao also knew that the divine path was divided into 5 realms. The peak of the divine god realm was the real superpower house. In other words, a superpower house like the great ancestor could definitely kill Aoa with ease. With Aoa's current situation, how would he deal with a super expert like the old ancestor? When Longao returned to the clan, he immediately sealed off the news. He seemed to know the seriousness of the matter. Everyone moved. The news of Longao's return to the clan was completely sealed off. "Father, is Aoa okay?" Mu Lin and Long Yi's faces were filled with worry. As Longao's parents, perhaps they were the ones who cared about Longao the most in the world. "I don't know, but Aoa should be fine. You don't have to worry too much." Mu Lin seemed to want to say something, but she was stopped by Long Yi. He said, "Father, what should we do now? The 4 great forces are restless and have been searching for Aoa's whereabouts. As the saying goes, there is no such thing as an impenetrable wall. Once the 4 great forces know that Aoa has returned to the clan, the consequences will be unimaginable." The 4 great forces were searching for Longao everywhere. Everyone knew about it. Now the situation was different. Everyone was in danger. The 4 great forces could be said to have hundreds of people responding to a single call. They all wanted to kill Longao, the killing tool. Because no one knew if Longao would deal with them. Because of this, the 4 great forces united the entire 9-state spirit realm to search for Longao. Their intentions were clear. The 4 great forces wanted to use this opportunity to eliminate Aoa in one fell swoop. How could Longao not know about his son's worries? This matter must be sealed. It must not be leaked out. Aoa's fortune and misfortune are hard to predict. Everyone in the clan is anxious. If the 4 great forces attack us at this time, we will be in big trouble. First, Longao had always been the soul of the clan. Once Longao fell, the entire clan would fall with him. Longao saw this clearly. Second, the 4 great forces had titled Great Emperors. If they swarmed in, it was impossible for Longao to fight 1 against 4. Even if it was a one-on-one battle, Longao's current strength would not be enough to win. Third, Long Baishan's departure left the Long family without a pillar. In other words, the Long family had no protection now. If the 4 great forces chose to attack at this time, the Long family would be in danger. However, Longao also understood that the 4 great forces would not take the risk to attack unless it was absolutely necessary. No matter what, the clan had the corpse demon army. Unless the 4 great forces wanted to make both sides suffer. Everything was unpredictable. No one could say for sure. Go and prepare well. It's better to be safe than sorry. If the 4 great forces really attack, we only need to defend. Nodding, Long Yi did not dare to hesitate. He pulled Mu Lin's hand and left quickly. Only Longao was left in the hall. Longao did not plan to tell anyone about the matter between Longao and Long Batian. He only hoped that Longao was fine. Otherwise, everything would change. Countless people from the 4 great forces searched everywhere for Longao. However, it was as if Longao had disappeared from the face of the earth. This made the 4 great forces extremely angry. Just as Longao had guessed, due to the corpse demon army, the 4 great forces did not dare to attack the Long family and dragon sect rashly. However, there was no such thing as an impenetrable wall. The news of Longao's appearance in the Long family spread through the entire 9 prefectures. The 4 great forces who received the news immediately swarmed towards the Long family. Chapter 632. Outer Sea. In the deepest part of the Outer Sea, in the Crystal Palace. Long Batian and Longao arrived in front of the Crystal Palace, and immediately released their aura. "Old friend, since you're here, please come in." Long Batian led Longao into the Crystal Palace, where Master God Diviner had been waiting for them for some time. "Master God Diviner, please, for the sake of our many years of friendship, save this descendant of mine." The divine mathematician glanced at Longao and sighed helplessly. "Longao and I have just parted. It has only been a few days. I really didn't expect that he would end up like this. Master God Diviner and Aoa had met. Long Batian was shocked. But right now, Aoa's safety was the most important thing. Long Batian was looking for Master God Diviner because he knew who he was. Master God Diviner was the true number one person under heaven. As for the Tao of Heaven, even they had to show him respect. It was easy to imagine how terrifying Master God Diviner's status was. That was why Long Batian thought of Master God Diviner. He knew that in this world, only Master God Diviner could save Aoa. Long Batian and Master God Diviner could be considered old acquaintances. Long Batian had risen to power in the past, but had been too flashy. Master God Diviner had wanted to groom Long Batian as his successor, but had also wanted to test him. In the end, Long Batian had failed the test, and had even entered the Tao of reincarnation. Nodding, Master God Diviner thought for a moment. I've already divined Longao's fate. Although it's unclear, he's a hidden dragon. He won't be trapped in the water. Long Batian was overjoyed to hear this. Master God Diviner, what should we do? Wait for me here. Master God Diviner led Longao away. From beginning to end, Longao had no idea what was going on. He was like a puppet. But with Long Batian and Master God Diviner's strength, anyone else would have been killed by Longao. Long Batian didn't go with him because he trusted the clairvoyant. Long Batian knew that if Master God Diviner wanted to deal with them, he could do it in a matter of minutes. Even the Tao of Heaven would have to be wary of Master God Diviner. In the side hall, Master God Diviner shrugged helplessly. Back then, the blood pond could have devoured heaven and earth, but was sealed away by the dragon seal. Who would have thought that you would be able to use the power of the blood pond again? If Longao had been awake, he would have been shocked speechless. The fact that Master God Diviner was able to calculate such a thing showed just how terrifying his Tao of divination was. Fortunately, the dragon seal sealed the power of the blood pool. Otherwise, the world would be in great trouble. The divine mathematician let out a long sigh of relief. At this time, the divine mathematician's body suddenly emitted a stream of origin energy, which slowly entered Longao's body. From there, it started to communicate with the origin energy stored in Longao's Dantian. The last time Longao had obtained essence power, he hadn't dared to casually devour it. That was because, given his current strength, if he tried to do that, he would definitely die. Because of that, Longao had the help of Long Fu to suppress the essence power. Once he was able to devour it, he would naturally reach the peak of the martial path. If Longao hadn't obtained essence power, Master God Diviner wouldn't have come to see him, let alone save him. No matter how you put it, Longao was the first person to obtain essence power after Long Tian. Master God Diviner had his own plans, so he had no choice but to go find Longao. Longao possessed the origin power, which could be considered as helping him indirectly. After the two essences connected, Longao's entire body was wrapped in essence power. Master God Diviner's intentions were simple. He wanted to borrow the essence power to try and connect with the primal chaos stone tablet. At this time, only the primal chaos stone tablet could suppress the power of the blood pool. Just as Master God Diviner had thought, the two essences directly connected with the primal chaos stone tablet. At this time, the primal chaos stone tablet emitted a powerful energy that fiercely collided with the blood pool within Longao's body. If he hadn't been recognized by the primal chaos stone tablet, then it would have been impossible for Longao to use the primal chaos stone tablet to suppress the power of the blood pool. But now the situation was completely different. The primal chaos stone tablet had recognized Longao, and with Master God Diviner's help, Longao had a chance. The primal chaos stone tablet forcibly suppressed the power of the blood pool. Within the dragon seal space, as Long Fu sensed the power of the primal chaos stone tablet, his face lit up with joy. He knew what was happening, but Long Fu didn't dare to reveal himself. If he was at his peak, he could ignore anyone. But now things were different. If he was discovered by Master God Diviner, it was hard to say what would happen to him. With the suppression of the primal chaos stone tablet, Longao gradually regained consciousness. The blood-red color in his eyes also began to fade. As soon as Longao regained consciousness, he immediately understood what had happened. He looked at Master God Diviner and respectfully bowed. Many thanks to Senior Master God Diviner for saving me. Waving his hand, Master God Diviner smiled. You were destined for this calamity. Luckily your old ancestor took the risk to bring you here, otherwise, although Master God Diviner didn't finish speaking, the meaning behind his words was clear. What happened to the old ancestor? Longao, you might not know this, but although your old ancestor is a samsara martial artist, he has always existed in his divine soul state. If he were to encounter a powerful enemy at this time, the consequences could be imagined. Hearing Master God Diviner's words, Longao instantly understood what he meant. Master God Diviner and Longao left the side chamber and came to the main hall. Seeing the old ancestor, Longao was pleasantly surprised. Many thanks to old ancestor for your help. Longao was very clear in his heart that this time, he had forcefully used the power of the blood pool and had been controlled by it. If the old ancestor hadn't brought him to find Master God Diviner, he would have definitely become a killing machine and fallen into eternal damnation. Of course, Longao remembered what he had done. Although he was still a little scared, Longao was still amazed by the power of the blood pool. According to Long Fu, the blood pool had been suppressed and sealed by the dragon seal, and its power was less than 1/10,000th of its peak. But even so, he could borrow the power of the blood pool to instantly kill 2 saints and even scare away a titled Great Emperor. What kind of concept was this? Longao found it hard to imagine how terrifying the blood pool was at its peak. Not to mention instantly killing 2 saints and scaring away a titled Great Emperor, he believed that it wouldn't be difficult for it to instantly kill a divine path martial artist. It's good that you're fine. This time, it's all thanks to Master God Diviner's help. Hurry up and thank him for saving your life. Ha ha ha, Brother Long, you and I have known each other for many years. You don't have to thank me. Since you're here, I'll take you to a place. I hope it will be of help to you. Chapter 633. Longao and Long Batian were very curious as to where Master God Diviner was taking them. Master God Diviner didn't say much, and neither of them asked. Thus, the two of them followed Master God Diviner to a side hall. After passing through 11 side halls in a row, the divine mathematician finally stopped. Longao and Long Batian looked at each other and saw a trace of surprise in each other's eyes. It was also a huge crystal side hall, but the whole side hall was dark and oppressive. Master God Diviner, is this the place you wanted to bring us to? Master God Diviner nodded. Longao, did you think that just because you absorbed a bit of essence energy, you would be able to reach the peak of the martial path and reach the same height as the heavenly Taos? Longao was very curious. What exactly did Master God Diviner mean by that? According to Long Fu, once he absorbed the essence energy, he would definitely be able to break through the peak of the martial path and reach the same height as the heavenly Taos. Then he would be able to fight the heavenly Taos to the death. That was why Longao had taken the risk to steal the essence energy. If he had been the slightest bit careless, he would have been killed by the heavenly Taos. But now, Longao was no fool. He could tell that there was more to Master God Diviner's words. What exactly did he mean? Longao, I can tell you clearly that even if you absorbed the essence energy, you will still not be able to reach the peak of the martial path. Longao was very surprised to hear that. He couldn't understand why Master God Diviner would say such a thing. Long Batian was also surprised. He had never imagined that this descendant of his would have already obtained essence energy. Long Batian, of course, knew what origin energy represented. Back then, Master God Diviner had hoped to pass on essence energy to him, but he had refused. Long Batian was filled with regret. If he had agreed back then, he would have already become the second heavenly Taos. But now that things had come to this point, no matter how much he regretted it, there was no going back. However, Long Batian was very happy that Aoa could possess the origin energy. Longao, your thinking is too simple. It's easier said than done to reach the peak of martial arts. Just possessing the origin energy is not enough. I'll show you now. Before Longao and Long Batian could ask, Master God Diviner reached out with his right hand and sliced open space. At this moment, the space became barren. Origin energy? Feeling the terrifying aura coming from the space, Longao was thoroughly shocked. However, after thinking about it for a while, he understood. After all, the divine mathematician had already stepped onto the peak of martial arts. He was an existence on the same level as the heavenly Tao. Therefore, it wasn't surprising that the divine mathematician possessed the source strength. That's right, it's the power of origin. Longao, I'll get straight to the point. If you want to break through to the peak of martial arts in the future, other than having the power of origin, the most important thing is that you must have the power of circulation. Only then can you reach the state of endless growth. Endless growth. Senior God Diviner, Yang Qi said, "May I ask what I should do to accomplish this?" "I'll help you." Even as he spoke, Longao felt the essence power enter his body. However, Master God Diviner didn't immediately tell him to consume it. Given Longao's current strength, if he tried to forcibly consume it, the consequences would be too horrible to contemplate. Master God Diviner's intentions were simple. He wanted to pour the power of origin into Longao's Dantian region, and then take care of the power of circulation. Once Longao absorbed the power of origin, he would naturally be able to break through to the peak of martial arts. There was no doubt that Master God Diviner was preparing everything for Longao. If the heavenly Tao found out about this, it was hard to say whether or not it would be angered to death. 2 hours passed. Longao, Master God Diviner said, "I've already prepared everything for you. As for whether or not you can take the final step, that will depend on your good fortune. That's all I can do." Longao was pleasantly surprised. He knew exactly what Master God Diviner had just done. "Many thanks, Senior God Diviner." Master God Diviner seemed very weak. He waved his hand and said, "You two can go. If there's nothing else, don't come again. I'm really tired. I need to rest." Longao and Long Batian bowed respectfully and slowly retreated. Master God Diviner was the only one left in the side chamber. Looking at the empty side chamber, Master God Diviner sighed deeply. After leaving the Crystal Palace, Long Batian directly asked, "Ao, what happened just now?" Things had already come to this point. Longao knew that if he continued to hide it, it would be a bit too much. Therefore, Longao told Long Batian everything that had happened. After listening, Long Batian couldn't help but sigh. Of course, he knew that Aoa had risked his life to obtain the power of origin on Spirit Beast Island. He knew how dangerous it was. "Aoa, you're too reckless. If the heavenly Tao finds out about this, you'll be in big trouble. Old ancestor, opportunities are often fought for by oneself. Since I've already promised Senior God Diviner, I have to do what I have to do." Long Batian nodded and didn't continue to ask about the power of origin and the heavenly Tao. He knew that if Longao wanted to tell him, he would tell him even if he didn't ask. If Longao didn't want to tell him, even if he used his status to ask, it wouldn't have much meaning. "Brat, I'm going to kill you." Just as the two were about to leave, a terrifying roar came from the distance. Then, 5 golden tiger sharks appeared and began to attack Longao. Longao was shocked because he knew that although he had the old ancestor by his side, no matter what, the old ancestor was still in existence in the form of a divine soul. If he was unlucky, wouldn't he and the old ancestor be in big trouble? Thinking of this, Longao was about to turn and leave. But at this time, Long Batian roared and a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from his body. The powerful aura of a heavenly god realm expert scared the 5 golden tiger sharks and forced them to stop. Although Long Batian was only a divine soul, his original body was a heavenly god realm expert after all. Moreover, he had reincarnated 6 times. His strength was there. It was only 5 golden tiger sharks. Even if there were divine beasts among them, they still weren't a match for Long Batian. "Aoa, don't you need divine souls? I'll give you one now." Divine souls. Longao's heart was simply excited to the extreme. because previously when he had entered the grave of the gods, he had gone through a near-death experience and finally obtained the shameless Shinto of thousands of divine souls. As long as he returned smoothly this time, Longao had full confidence that he would be able to create an army of Shinto warriors given enough time. Chapter 634. Longao didn't have time to tell anyone about the thousands of divine souls. However, no one would complain about having too many divine souls. Thank you, old ancestor. Nodding, Long Batian didn't put the 5 golden tiger sharks in his eyes and rushed out. However, Long Batian came back even faster. His face was ugly as he stared at the huge figure that suddenly appeared not far away. It was a flirtatious young man, but Longao could clearly feel that this young man's aura was exactly the same as the 5 golden tiger sharks. Could it be that this young man was also a golden tiger shark? Longao wasn't a fool. To be able to make the old ancestor so wary, he believed that the other party was also a heavenly god-level divine beast. Old ancestor, let's go first. Long Batian didn't want to leave at all, but he knew clearly that if he was at his peak, he could fight against the other party. But now, he was just a divine soul, it was impossible. Helpless, Long Batian and Longao turned around and flew away. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared without a trace. Grandpa, they ran away. The flirtatious young man snorted, his face was full of contempt. He waved his hand and said, "You guys go back first, I'll bring the other 2 back later." The golden tiger sharks naturally knew their grandpa's strength. Without the slightest worry, the 5 golden tiger sharks turned around and left. Heavenly God's divine soul, ha ha ha, I've waited for so long. The flirtatious young man's face was full of excitement because he knew what the divine soul of a heavenly god represented. Once he devoured the divine soul of a heavenly god, he believed that he would be able to break through the realm that he couldn't break through for a long time. If the old ancestor was a heavenly god, the flirtatious young man wouldn't dare to chase after him even if he had 10,000 guts. But the other party was a divine soul. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Old ancestor, that golden tiger shark just now, is it a heavenly god-level divine beast? Long Batian nodded and said, "Yes, I've sensed it just now. This heavenly god-level divine beast is very strong. If I was at my peak, I wouldn't have any problems, but now, I can't win against this golden tiger shark." Long Batian's face was very ugly. Longao obviously knew what this meant. It seemed like this golden tiger shark's strength was not simple. Leave now. With my strength, it shouldn't be a problem for me to block the golden tiger shark. No, we can't do that. He didn't even think about it. Longao directly rejected him. What kind of joke was this? Although he was very confident in the old ancestor's strength, it was still the same sentence. After all, the old ancestor was not at his peak. If he was confident, he believed that the old ancestor would have made a move just now. There was no need to wait until now. Before Long Batian could speak, Longao suddenly said, "Ancestor, I have an idea. Come with me." He was very curious. Long Batian didn't know what method Longao had to resist the so-called heavenly god beast. Just like this, Longao brought Long Batian and shot towards the direction of the divine beast water dragon. 10 minutes later. "Old Huang, we had an agreement. No matter what, you're not allowed to step into my territory. Don't tell me you don't put me in your eyes." Looking at the huge blue dragon in front of him, which was the so-called divine beast water dragon, the charming young man's face was a little ugly, because he never thought that the divine beast water dragon would help 2 humans. The golden tiger shark and the divine beast water dragon had been enemies for many years. However, both divine beasts knew very well that even if they fought for millions of years, there would still be no winner unless one of them could continue to break through. Because of this, the golden tiger shark and the divine beast water dragon made an agreement to temporarily cease all activities. Unless one of them had a breakthrough, no one was allowed to step into the other's territory. For so many years, both heavenly god beasts had done this because neither of them had broken through to a higher realm. The divine beast water dragon naturally knew that the golden tiger shark had not broken through. Otherwise, The divine beast water dragon would have fled long ago. Water dragon, I believe you know the purpose of my visit this time. Although you and I have fought for so many years, we're still friends. Hand over the 2 humans and we'll write off the grudge between us. What do you think? The divine beast water dragon snorted coldly as if it was looking at an idiot. It looked at the golden tiger shark and said coldly, "Get out of my territory. Otherwise, I don't suggest to continue fighting with you. You don't know what's good for you. Water dragon, since we've been friends for so many years, as long as you hand over the divine soul of a heavenly god, we'll share it equally. I believe you know what a divine soul of a heavenly god realm martial artist means. As long as you and I devour it equally, there's a high chance for us to break through." Hearing this, the divine beast water dragon hesitated for a moment. It had been stuck in this realm for so many years. It would be a lie to say that it didn't want to continue breaking through. Because the divine beast water dragon naturally knew what it would mean if it could continue to break through. However, the divine beast water dragon did not dare to do so. It forcefully suppressed the greed in its heart and scolded fiercely, king shameless thing. It's fine if you're shameless, but you actually dragged me into this. As a divine beast, even I feel ashamed for you. The golden tiger shark didn't know what Longao represented, but how could the divine beast water dragon not know? If it really did such a thing, how could it face the divine mathematician? The golden tiger shark was confused by the divine beast water dragon's scolding. It didn't know what was going on. Was the divine beast water dragon really so noble? It didn't seem like the divine beast water dragon's character. One had to know that the other party was a genuine divine soul of a heavenly god. Could the divine beast water dragon really resist such temptation? The golden tiger shark didn't believe it. However, the truth was right in front of him. He scolded fiercely, "Water dragon, don't be so shameless. I'm already giving you face by sharing half with you. F***ck off." The divine beast water dragon's temper was quite fiery. Coupled with the divine mathematician's backing, it was simply fearless. Before the golden tiger shark could react, the divine beast water dragon had already appeared beside him and attacked fiercely. The golden tiger shark was startled. It never thought that the divine beast water dragon would start the battle so quickly. In the blink of an eye, the 2 heavenly divine beasts were already engaged in a fierce battle, exchanging blows back and forth. Why is the divine beast water dragon helping us? Looking at the 2 divine beasts fighting in the distance, Longao was very curious. Because the divine beast water dragon's strength was obvious. Once the 2 divine beasts joined hands, it would be very difficult for them to leave this place. Old ancestor, the divine beast water dragon is not helping us. It's giving face to the divine mathematician. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to escape today. But no matter what, we still have to thank the divine mathematician. P.S. Chapter 5, delivered after midnight. Staying up late every day, it's so annoying. Chapter 635. While the 2 divine beasts were fighting, Longao and Longao didn't leave. One couldn't be too unkind. The water dragon fought the golden tiger shark for them. If they left, not to mention others, even they wouldn't be able to do it. The water dragon and the golden tiger shark fought fiercely. One had to admit that the 2 divine beasts were evenly matched. It was too difficult to decide the winner in a short time. Longao, you 2 leave first. Senior. Let's go. Looking deeply at the 2 divine beasts fighting, Longao gritted his teeth and said gratefully, "I, Longao, will definitely repay Senior's kindness in the future. Goodbye. Kid, you can't leave. Fuck your grandfather, you think I can't leave just because you say so? Who do you think you are, old fart?" The water dragon didn't give the golden tiger shark any chance to breathe. Each move was stronger than the last. Being firmly trapped by the divine beast water dragon, it was simply too difficult for the gold tiger shark to escape. It could only look on helplessly as Longao and the other person left. With the transportation channel, Longao and Longao disappeared from the outer sea and returned to Tianju. Longao was very grateful to the water dragon. The reason was simple. Although the water dragon only saved him because of the divine mathematician, Longao knew that if it wasn't for the water dragon, he would have died twice. Returning to Tianju, Longao and Long Batian could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Long family's main hall. Seeing Longao suddenly appear, everyone was shocked. Only when they were sure that Longao was fine did they burst out in joy. Ao, are you okay? Shaking his head, Longao looked at his family members in front of him and felt warm. This was family. No matter what, family would never abandon you. Ao, what happened? Longao gave his grandfather a look. Then, Long Haosha sent everyone away. Only the two of them were left in the main hall. Even their parents couldn't join them. Longao didn't hide anything from his grandfather and told him everything. After listening, Long Haosha was shocked to the extreme. His face was full of disbelief because he knew what the divine Tao inheritance represented. Moreover, it was more than 1,000 divine Tao inheritances. Ao, are you telling the truth? Absolutely. This time, for the divine Tao inheritances, I almost became a killing tool. But it was all worth it. Long Haosha sighed deeply. Whether it was worth it or not, he did not know. In any case, if he had to choose, he would definitely choose his grandson, and not the thousands of so-called divine Tao inheritances. But since things had already reached this stage, Long Haosha didn't want to mention it. Ao, what are you going to do? Grandfather, whether this matter is big or small, I'm sure you know better than me. If the Long family and the other superpowers know that our Long family has over 1,000 divine Tao inheritances, they definitely won't just stand by and watch. At that time, we'll be in big trouble. Long Haosha nodded. How could he not know what Longao was worried about? Let alone over 1,000 divine Tao inheritances, even if it was just one divine Tao inheritance, once news of it spread, it would definitely shake the entire 9 prefectures. It would bring endless trouble to the family. Ao, I know what you mean. What are you going to do? Just say it. Grandfather, the total number of people in the family is around 300. Adding in my friends and reliable disciples, I'm going to gather 1,000 people to accept the inheritance. But this matter has to be kept a secret. No matter who it is, they can't leak it. Longao had already decided that he wouldn't refine any divine Tao inheritances. He was going to give away all the divine Tao inheritances. According to Long Fu's guess, in 3 years or 5 years, the family would have over 1,000 divine Tao experts. What did that mean? With over 1,000 divine Tao experts, let alone the 9 prefectures, even in the entire martial heaven continent, the family would be able to occupy a position. Long Haosha was also a bit excited. He excitedly said, I understand. I'll go arrange it in a bit. Ao, you just came back. You must be tired. Go rest first. Nodding, Longao didn't go rest. Instead, he went to the cave to see his so-called ancestor, Long Batian. Ao, have you really decided not to accept the inheritance? Ancestor, I've already said that I won't accept any inheritance. I want to walk my own martial Tao. I want to rely on my own cultivation to reach the peak of the martial Tao. If Longao wanted to accept an inheritance, he had countless opportunities. He wouldn't have waited until now. It was still the same words. He wanted to rely on his own efforts to reach the peak of the martial Tao. Only then could he truly possess the power to contend against the heavenly Taos. Long Batian was full of praise. I already know what you mean. You're doing the right thing. A single person's power is useless unless the entire family becomes powerful. You've helped me accomplish what I couldn't do back then. I thank you on behalf of the Long family's ancestors. Ancestors? Speaking of ancestors, Long Ao knew that the ancestor of the family was Long Tien. However, he really didn't like the Long family. He didn't want to have the slightest connection with the Long family. Ao, after you've finished your matter and everyone in the family has broken through to the divine Tao, I'll prepare to enter the 7th reincarnation. At that time, the family will be handed over to you. Ancestor, I'm very clear that it won't be long before the Long family summons me. At that time, when I go to the Long family, I'll definitely break off relations with the Long family. If I bring the family to a place of no return, waving his hand, before Longao could finish, Long Batian already said, you can do whatever you want. No matter what decision you make, I'll support you unconditionally. I believe the entire family will support you. In fact, Long Batian had already guessed this. As for the family, Long Batian knew that Longao had become the soul of the family. No matter what decision he made, he believed that no one in the family would oppose it. This was the charm of the Longao. Long Batian was very excited to see that his descendant could do this. No matter what, he had tried to do this in the past, but failed. However, thinking of the Long family, Long Batian's face became slightly dignified. He sighed deeply and said, the strength of the Long family is not as simple as you think. Even if the family has thousands of divine Dao warriors, they can't compete with the Long family. Therefore, you can only use your wits and not your strength. Otherwise, the result will be the same as mine, shameful. P.S. Everyone, stop scolding. Xiaoju also doesn't want to update at night. He reluctantly wrote a chapter in the morning and has to go to the infusion bottle in the afternoon. If you support Xiaoju, please cast your monthly votes and recommendation votes. If you don't want to support, please leave quietly. Xiaoju is a human, not a machine. Xiaoju only wants to say that Xiaoju has done his best. Chapter 636. Longao had long heard of the Long family's strength. The Long family was one of the strongest forces in the world. It was easy to imagine how terrifying the Long family was. The old ancestor had a grudge with the Long family, so he knew the Long family's strength very well. Therefore, Longao knew that even if the family had thousands of supreme Dao warriors, they would not be a match for the Long family. Because of this, Longao's face instantly turned serious. No matter what, the Long family was too strong. Once he broke ties with the Long family, not only himself, but even the family would be implicated. What should he do? Did he really have to compromise? Longao was very unwilling because he wanted to overthrow the Long family. According to his decision, from now on, as long as they were disciples of the Long family, they would be able to enter the Dragon Valley. Long family divided all the families into 9 levels. No matter how hard the Long family members below level 4 tried, they would not be able to enter the Dragon Valley and thus would not be able to produce a dragon warrior. This way, the Long family members below level 4 would not be able to make a name for themselves. Longao could not understand. Long family members should be trying to develop their own strength, and dragon warriors were the driving force for development. If so, why would the Long family stop everyone from entering the Dragon Valley? As if he could understand Longao's thoughts, Long Batian said helplessly, you must not understand why the Long family would stop their disciples from entering the Dragon Valley and becoming a dragon warrior. Nodding, Longao silently agreed. You don't know. Long family members are doing this because they want to stop the bloodline awakening. The old ancestor's words completely confused Longao. He did not know what he meant. Why stop the bloodline awakening? Back then, when the primordial divine dragon and Long Tian fell, they passed down their supreme bloodline. However, as time passed, the Dragon Clan and the Long family no longer wanted to continue to be strong. Instead, they wanted to protect their origin. Therefore, they stopped disciples of level 3 and below from awakening their bloodline. So that was the case. Rumor has it that members of the Long family who are below level 4 are not allowed to enter the Dragon Valley. However, as everyone knows, even a level 2 Long family disciple would find it extremely difficult to enter the Dragon Valley. This is the selfishness of a Long family. Long family is afraid that Long family disciples below level 2 will enter the Dragon Valley to become dragon warriors and awaken their bloodline, threatening the status of the Long family. Nodding, then shaking his head, Long Batian said, Long family members don't have to worry about becoming a dragon warrior and awakening their bloodline. Long family members only have to worry about someone awakening their ancestors' bloodline and becoming a peerless expert. Longao completely understood. In the end, The Long family had changed. They had become selfish, narrow-minded, and extremely shameless. Old ancestor, as far as I know, the Long family doesn't stop everyone from entering the Dragon Valley. Is the Long family not afraid? Long family members are very cunning. After entering the Dragon Valley and the Dragon Clan Ancestral Hall, once they discover that someone has awakened an abnormal bloodline, they will immediately shut him down. Whether he lives or dies will depend on fate. Longao's heart trembled violently. Of course, he understood the meaning of the old ancestor's words. Longao also broke out in cold sweat for Long Chen. Long Chen had just gone to the Long family not long ago. Fortunately, there were no abnormalities in his awakened bloodline. Otherwise, it was unknown whether Long Chen would be able to return alive. The strength of the Long family is not something you can imagine. Therefore, unless it is absolutely necessary, I hope that you will not break off relations with the Long family. Regarding the old ancestor's worries, Longao was naturally well aware. The two of them did not continue to dwell on this issue. In the following period of time, Longao and Long Haosha wholeheartedly focused on the divine inheritance. This task was extremely difficult. After all, it was not easy to completely suppress this news. Over 1,000 divine inheritances were no small matter. The slightest carelessness could bring disaster to the family. It was precisely because of this that Longao and Long Haosha were especially careful. However, at this time, the armies of the four great powers had already arrived. Their goal was very simple. They wanted the Long family to hand over Longao. The four great powers took advantage of the danger that everyone was in and prepared to join forces with the forces of the 9 provinces to deal with Longao. However, before the four great powers could attack, Longao had already arrived with the Long family. Looking coldly at the sea of people in front of him, Longao did not show the slightest fear. With a cold snort, Longao said coldly, "You guys are really bold. You actually dare to come to my dragon sect and ask for someone. I'm right here. I'd like to see who dares." Longao was fine. Looking at the sober Longao, everyone was a little stunned. They did not know what had happened at all. According to the rumors, Longao had slaughtered the ethereal palace and almost destroyed it. He was called a complete killing machine by the four great powers. Because of this, everyone in the world was in danger. They were very afraid that Longao would kill them. Helpless, everyone followed the four great powers into the dragon sect. They wanted to eliminate the root of the problem as soon as possible. However, at this moment, everyone looked at Longao who was standing in front of them. They were completely dumbfounded. They did not know if the four great powers were lying or not. The four great powers are really shameless. They want to deal with my dragon sect, but they want to borrow the power of others. They want to watch the fire from the shore and reap the benefits in the end. Long Haosha's voice was not loud. However, everyone heard it loud and clear. None of the people standing here were fools. Naturally, they knew what Long Haosha meant. The four great powers wanted to kill them with a borrowed knife. They wanted to use them as cannon fodder. The four great powers were really ruthless. Without waiting for the four major forces to step forward to clarify the matter, everyone immediately retreated. The crowd that was still a sea of people a moment ago was instantly reduced by 70%. In other words, the disciples of the four major forces were not that many, only 30%. The motive of the four great powers was clear. However, since things had come to this point, how could the four great powers dare to stay any longer? They left immediately. Unknowingly, everyone realized that the strength of the dragon sect had grown to the same level as the four great powers. Even though there were countless people who did not want to believe it, the truth was right before their eyes. They had no choice but to believe it. The ones who were the most depressed were the four great powers. Actually, based on the strength of the four great powers, if they had joined forces earlier on, they could have destroyed the dragon sect easily even if they were to strike out individually. However, it was precisely because the four great powers were fighting both openly and secretly that the dragon sect had an opportunity to take advantage of. In the end, the development of the dragon sect was way too fast. Before the four great powers could even react, the the dragon sect was already on the same level as them. In fact, they were even vaguely suppressing the four great powers. P.S. Thank you for the brothers who are concerned about Little Nine. Little Nine will continue to work hard. As for those who are scolding, we'll leave it to No Beginning and the others. Chapter 637. The Nine States, including the Nine States Spirit Region. Originally, there were only four major forces in the Nine States. They were the East Royal City, the Long Family of the West, the Netherworld Mansion of the South, and the Ethereal Palace of the North. But the situation was completely different now. In the 9 prefectures, there were no longer 4 major forces, but 5 major forces. The 5 major forces were the East Royal City, the Long Family of the West, the Netherworld Mansion of the South, the Ethereal Palace of the North, and the Dragon Sect. Although the 4 major forces were unwilling to admit it, the Dragon Sect's strength was enough to compete with them. Helpless, the 4 major forces could only accept this reality. The 5 major forces were the East Royal City, the Long Family of the West, the Netherworld Mansion of the South, the Ethereal Palace of the North, and the Dragon Sect of the 9 States. The 4 major forces and the Dragon Sect seemed to have a tacit understanding. Both sides began to stabilize and develop their own forces. Among the 4 major forces, the Ethereal Palace was the worst. Previously, Longao suddenly slaughtered the Ethereal Palace. Not only did he kill 2 saints and scare away the Great Emperor, but he also slaughtered countless experts of the Ethereal Palace. In just a few seconds, he killed 40% of the disciples of the Ethereal Palace. What did that mean? Not only that, half of the martial artists above the Earth Saint realm were killed. It was the biggest loss of the Ethereal Palace. With the threat of the Dragon Sect, the Great Emperor Wei Lin thought that the other 3 major forces would not take action. But the Great Emperor Wei Lin was too naive. In the 9-state spirit region, a storm was brewing. The 3 major forces worked together to deal with the Ethereal Palace. They hoped to eliminate the Ethereal Palace and become the so-called tripartite balance. Longao Peak. About 100 meters away from the Longao Peak, Duan suddenly appeared. He looked coldly at the Longao Peak in front of him and said to himself, there must be a secret for the Longao to rise in such a short time. Humph, everyone is negligent. If I go to the Longao Peak now, I can get the secret. If you want it, I can take you there. Who is it? Hearing the sudden voice, Duan was shocked and looked around vigilantly. At this moment, Duan shuddered as though he had seen a ghost. He suppressed the fear in his heart and said indifferently, Master Long, it's already so late. Why haven't you slept yet? The figure that had just appeared was none other than the master of the Dragon Sect, Longao. Longao sighed helplessly and said, someone is not sleeping in the middle of the night. How could I dare to go alone? I wonder what brings Brother Duan to my Long clan as a guest. The Dragon Sect and the Long family had already merged. After thinking about it, Longao decided to merge the 2 factions. If a battle broke out, the Dragon Sect and Long family would not be able to take care of each other, and they would suffer great losses. If he moved the Dragon Sect into the Long family, with the old ancestor overseeing things and the support of the Fire Qilin, he believed that even if he had to face the 4 great forces at the same time, he would still have nothing to fear. In fact, the most important reason why Longao merged the Dragon Sect and the Long family was because of the thousands of divine Tao inheritances. In order to hide the truth, he had no choice but to do so. After all, the thousands of divine Tao inheritances were too shocking and could not be leaked out. Master Long, you must be joking. The main reason I came here this time is to inform you of something. Great Emperor Wei Lin is preparing to deal with you. Master Long, please take care of yourself. Why is Brother Duan so kind? How could Longao not know what Duan was thinking? Sneering in his heart, Longao wanted to see what Duan was going to do. He wanted to see how a shameless person could speak without blushing. Master Long, no matter what, you and my imperial city are allies, so I have the obligation to inform you. Since you already know, I will take my leave first. Duan you and I both know what you are thinking. Since that is the case, why don't we be frank? I killed your son back then, and I know that you hold a grudge and have always wanted to take revenge. If that is the case, why don't we end it now? What do you say?" Hearing about his son, his killing intent surged, but he knew that he was no match for Lin Fan. Smiling, he suddenly said, "He asked for it. He can't blame Master Long goodbye. If the King of Hell wants you to die at midnight, who dares to keep you alive until midnight?" "Longao, what do you mean? Don't forget that the Dragon Sect and the Imperial City are still allies." He was afraid of Longao's killing intent. If Longao really wanted to kill him, even if he was killed, he believed that the Imperial City wouldn't choose to start a war with the Dragon Sect at this time. So what if he was the City Lord? If he died, the Imperial City could change the City Lord at any time. Even his father couldn't do anything. This was the consequence of having no strength. Everything was nonsense. Because of this, he was afraid. He was afraid that Longao would really kill him at this time. He smiled, but Longao didn't. Instead, he still looked cold. "Alliance." Lin Fan snorted. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone so shameless. It was simply shameless to the extreme. If the Imperial City still remembers that we are allies, then they won't try to kill me again and again. Don't think that everyone is a fool. Let me tell you, if the King of Hell can kill you at midnight, I, Longao, can do the same. If I want you to die now, no matter who comes, they won't be able to save you. Do you believe me?" He shuddered. Before he could react, he had already let out a scream. "Ah, Longao, you're despicable. You sneaked an attack on me." He never expected that Longao, the dignified master of the Dragon Sect and a genuine saint, would actually sneak an attack on him just now. If his soul wasn't strong enough, he believed that he would be dead now. Do you think that your soul is strong enough to withstand my soul attack?" All was fair in war. Longao wouldn't talk about a fair fight with he. Moreover, with his strength, even if they were to fight head-on, he could easily destroy him. With Longao's strength, once he used his soul attack, not to mention one he, even 100 he would have died just now. He didn't want to believe it. He suddenly laughed crazily and said, "Longao, do you really think that you're invincible? If you didn't use any evil methods or sneak an attack, with just you? Stubborn." He really knew how to twist words. It was obvious that he wasn't strong enough, but he still dilly-dallied here. Longao said with a smile, "You want a fair fight?" For some reason, after hearing Longao's words, his heart shuddered again. He said anxiously, "Longao, I'm afraid that you don't dare to have a fair fight with me. Today, I want to see how strong the legendary Longao is. P.S. Little 9 has 5 chapters a day. If I update a little later, a bunch of people will start to scold me. However, these people who are scolding me don't vote. Little 9 wants to ask, do you really vote every day? What's your rank on the fan list? If you can rush into the top 5, or even the first, you can scold me as you wish." Chapter 638. A Fair Fight. He stared at the young man in front of him and was ready to go all out. However, at this moment, Longao suddenly extended his right hand and shook it gently. One move. He wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew what Longao meant by one move. It was too arrogant. Simply too arrogant. He admitted that he wasn't Longao's opponent at all. However, Longao wanted to defeat him in one move. Wasn't it a little too whimsical? Not to mention many people wouldn't believe it. However, Longao didn't say anything. Before he could make a move, Longao had already moved. To deal with Longao wouldn't even use his blood-sucking blade or his innate ability. He was prepared to use his Divine Dragon Arm and Hell Tiger Arm to smash to death. It was also considered as revenge for himself. However, during the Beast Tide, the Imperial City was also one of the 4 major forces that harmed him. If he didn't take revenge, he wouldn't be a man. He roared. As the City Lord of the Imperial City, when had he ever suffered such humiliation? Initially, he thought that he could resist Longao. At least, it would take more than 100 moves to determine the winner. However, what about now? His expression changed instantly. His face was filled with fear as though he had seen a ghost. However, Longao wouldn't give him the chance to do so. Longao obviously used all his strength in this punch. If this punch landed, he would be sent to meet the King of Hell. However, Longao didn't land successfully in the end. The reason was simple. A figure appeared in an instant. A powerful aura covered the sky. Longao had no choice but to retreat. Titled Great Emperor. Longao looked at the old man who suddenly appeared in front of him. He instantly guessed the old man's identity. The #1 expert in the Imperial City was also titled Great Emperor Shun He. He was on the same level as Ethereal Palace's Wei Lin. Shun He wouldn't appear normally. It was said that Shun He was the last hope to break through to the Supreme Dao realm. Longao couldn't sense whether Shun He had broken through to the Supreme Dao realm. However, Longao was wary of this person because he couldn't see through Shun He. Master Long, aren't you being too ruthless? Could it be that you want to kill everyone? Shun He's expression was ugly because no matter what, He was still the city lord of the Imperial City. Even if he wasn't important, at the very least, he was still the face of the Imperial City. If he were to be killed by Longao so easily, where would the Imperial City's face go? Forefather. Shut up. You can't do anything right. Hearing the old ancestor's displeasure, He didn't dare to continue speaking. He stood to the side with fear and trepidation, but his heart was filled with extreme excitement. He did not know why the old ancestor would suddenly descend. However, he knew very well how powerful the old ancestor was. If the old ancestor made a move, Longao would definitely die. Although he didn't know how Longao had managed to scare Wei Lin away, he was certain that Longao couldn't have done it. Shun He, He came to Longao's peak in the middle of the night. If it were you, what would you do? Shun He didn't answer. Instead, he muttered to himself, I just heard someone say that if the King of Hell wants you to die at midnight, no one would dare to keep you alive until dawn. Master Long, I want to ask, did you say that? That's right. So what? Looking at the fearless young man, Shun He suddenly laughed. His face was filled with admiration. Longao's talent, potential, strength, and courage were the best of the best. If such a person could appear in the Imperial City, then the Imperial City wouldn't have to worry about not rising up. Longao was the best of the best. However, things were often like this. The more you wanted something, the more you couldn't get it. Master Long, why don't the Dragon Sect and the Imperial City form an alliance? Alliance again. The moment he heard these two words, Longao felt his balls ache endlessly. Previously, forming an alliance with the Imperial City was a last resort. After all, there were 3 major forces in front of him. With the Dragon Sect's strength, if the 4 major forces counterattacked, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, the situation was completely reversed now. He didn't need to use the Imperial City to restrain the 3 major forces. Because of this, Longao rejected without even thinking, sorry, the Imperial City is too shameless. I don't want to form an alliance with such shameless things. Hearing this, Shun He wasn't angry at all. Instead, he praised him even more. Now that I'm here, I want to see how you're going to kill He. Shun He was even more arrogant. However, He and Longao knew that Shun He had the right to be arrogant. After all, he was a titled Great Emperor. At least in the 9 prefectures, he was the strongest existence. You want to fight? Do you dare to fight? Longao's body exuded a strong self-confidence. His battle intent overflowed into the sky like a rolling sea. Why wouldn't I dare to fight with you? Longao, regardless of the outcome, you will definitely be the strongest person in the 9 prefectures. Hearing the old ancestor's words, He was shocked. If someone else said this, there would definitely be people cursing fiercely. Although Longao had risen strongly and was considered a legendary figure, it seemed a little difficult for him to become the strongest person in the 9 prefectures. However, the Imperial City's old ancestor, Shun He, had said it personally. Even if Duan he wanted to refute, he could only keep his mouth shut. Many thanks. The strongest person in the 9 prefectures, Longao, didn't back down at all. Ha ha ha, good, good. Longao, being able to fight with you is a great pleasure for me. If I can't defeat you within 30 moves, I will leave immediately. Moreover, from today onwards, the grudges between the Imperial City and the Dragon Sect will be written off. We'll talk about grudges in the future. Duan he was very unhappy because he couldn't understand why the old ancestor would set a 30-move agreement. Could it be that the old ancestor wasn't confident that he could defeat Longao within 30 moves? That was impossible. The old ancestor was a genuine titled Great Emperor, but Longao was just a small saint. The two of them weren't on the same level at all. Not to mention 30 moves, Duan he believed that with the old ancestor's strength, he could easily defeat Longao in 3 moves. Although he was very unwilling, Duan he endured it in the end. He understood the old ancestor's character very well. He didn't like to be interrupted in everything. Even if he was the Imperial City's city lord, he was still nothing in the eyes of the old ancestor. This was the sorrow of the Imperial City's city lord. 30 moves. Hearing Longao's question, Shun he thought that Longao didn't dare to accept the challenge or was afraid. Perhaps Shun he was praising him too much. He smiled and said, 50 moves. If you can withstand 50 moves from me, even if you lose, I believe that your name will spread throughout the world. How could Longao not know what Shun he meant? On the surface, it was beneficial to him, but in reality, it was humiliating him. It was obvious that Shun he was looking down on him. Is 50 moves not enough? How about this, if you can withstand within 100 moves, your name will spread even more. Shaking his head, Longao suddenly said, I only need 3 moves to defeat you. P.S. Chapter 5 is updated at midnight. 1 more chapter will be added tomorrow. 6 chapters tomorrow. Chapter 639. 3 moves. Longao wants to defeat me in 3 moves. Hearing his words, Shun his expression finally turned cold. Shun he admired Longao very much, but it didn't mean that he had a good temper. Anyone would explode after being ignored and looked down upon by Longao. In Duan his opinion, Longao was simply courting death. He wanted to defeat the elder ancestor in 3 moves. Not to mention 3 moves, even 300 or 3,000 moves would be like a fool's dream. The difference in strength between Longao and the elder ancestor was like heaven and earth. Longao, do you know that being arrogant is a good thing, but being too arrogant will become conceited? Do you really think you can defeat me in 3 moves? He looked very confident on the surface and his face was full of contempt, but Shun his heart skipped a beat. The more Longao behaved like this, the less confident Shun he was. Under normal circumstances, it would be a piece of cake for a titled great emperor to kill a saint, but now, Shun he was a little fearful. Not long ago, Longao had just gone to the ethereal palace and killed 2 saints instantly, scaring away Wei Lin the Great. This in itself already showed how powerful Longao was. Shun he knew very well that although Wei Lin the Great of the ethereal palace wasn't as powerful as him, how could he be scared away by a saint? How did Longao scare away Wei Lin the Great back then? Wei Lin the Great didn't mention a word about it, and this battle became an unsolved mystery. Ha ha ha, Shun he, are you afraid? With just a glance, Longao had already guessed what Shun he was thinking. At this moment, Longao took a step forward and said, Shun he, if I can't defeat you in 3 moves, I'll kill myself here immediately. Longao's sudden action gave Shun he and Duan he a fright. The two of them couldn't figure out why Longao was so confident. Could it be that Longao really had the strength to fight against the elder ancestor? Not only Shun he, even Duan he began to mutter in his heart. Shun he glared at Longao. Suddenly, he threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Longao, you don't need to do this. 3 moves is the limit. If you lose, take me as your master, and the Dragon Sect will be incorporated into the Imperial City. From then on, you have to listen to me. If you go back on your word, then be struck by lightning, and your family will die. No problem. Before the two could speak, Longao asked, what if you lose within 3 moves? Me. It's simple. The Imperial City will be merged into the Dragon Sect. You have to take me as your master. What do you think? Shunhe hesitated for 3 seconds, but in the end, he nodded in agreement. Because from the beginning to the end, Shunhe didn't believe that Longao could defeat him. What a joke, if he was defeated by a saint, then not to mention becoming his disciple, he might as well commit suicide. Longao and Shunhe did not speak again. The two of them stared at each other. All of a sudden, the two of them moved. For the first move, Longao chose to meet force with force. This was because he also wanted to see how big the gap was between him and a titled Great Emperor with his current strength. In fact, Longao had already guessed that with his current strength, it was impossible for him to be a match for a titled Great Emperor. Of course, Shunhe understood Longao's intention. Because of this, the two of them collided with each other at the fastest speed. Longao's fists suddenly smashed out. The Divine Dragon arm and the Hell Tiger arm smashed against Shunhe's fists. A violent wind blew. Longao was directly sent flying by Shunhe's fist. However, with the protection of the desolate divine body and the fact that Shunhe didn't kill him, Longao forcibly stopped himself. At this moment, Longao finally understood the gap between himself and a titled Great Emperor. The gap in cultivation realm was very difficult to make up for with other things. Even the legendary Master Dragon is only SOSO. The fear from before had completely disappeared. Shunhe could clearly sense that Longao was indeed only a saint. Although he didn't know how Longao scared Wei Ling away back then, with Longao's current strength, it was indeed impossible for Longao to defeat him. Since that was the case, 2 moves were enough. At this moment, a shocking aura of heaven and earth suddenly erupted from Longao's body. Sensing this aura, Shunhe's expression changed. He exclaimed, "Aura of heaven and earth, could you be a rebirth realm martial artist?" Nirvana rebirth. Thinking of these 4 words, Shunhe shuddered. He didn't dare to be careless because he was very clear what the aura of heaven and earth and Nirvana rebirth represented. Immediately after, Longao directly used his self-created martial technique, Sorrow of Heaven and Earth. Not only that, but Longao also borrowed the power of his spirit to suppress Shunhe. In a battle, there was no such thing as shamelessness. Only the winner was king and the loser was in the wrong. Therefore, Longao directly used the power of his spirit. According to Longao's strength, it was impossible for him to forcefully use the power of his spirit. The reason he could do so was all thanks to Long Fu. Before the battle started, Longao had already communicated with Long Fu. Long Fu had also agreed to help him at the risk of the dragon seal falling into a deep slumber. Therefore, Long Fu could only forcefully use his spirit for 3 seconds at most. 3 seconds was enough. Longao borrowed the power of his spirit and the might of sorrow of heaven and earth instantly increased by 10 times. A huge tornado swept everything in the surroundings. Seeing this situation, Shunhe and Duan were so frightened that they trembled. "Let's go." They didn't dare to linger at all because Shunhe could clearly feel how powerful his opponent's martial technique was. Just a martial technique wasn't enough to scare Shunhe away. However, not only did Longao use the power of heaven and earth, but he also borrowed the power of his spirit. Shunhe wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew that if he continued to fight head-on, only death would await him. How could Longao let go of such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? As long as he killed Shunhe and Duan, the Imperial City would lose its backbone. At that time, the other 3 forces would definitely not give up and would definitely deal with the Imperial City. If that was really the case, then he could completely watch the fire burn across the river and reap the benefits in the end. Until now, Shunhe and Duan still couldn't figure out how Longao did it. To be able to do this as a saint, Longao was definitely unprecedented. How many people in the world could do this? A saint had scared away a titled Great Emperor twice. Duan swallowed his saliva fiercely. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that the old ancestor would be scared away by Longao. Duan he didn't dare to stop at all. He followed behind Shun He and even used all his strength because he knew that even the old ancestor was afraid of Longao, let alone him. Duan he didn't want to die here. Just like that, Longao chased for a total of 3 seconds before finally stopping abruptly. Longao was very clear that the power of his spirit could only last for 3 seconds. Not to mention continuing to chase, if Shun He turned around and attacked at this time, he could only run away. P.S. 1:10 in the morning, go to sleep. Chapter 640. Longao didn't seem to be satisfied that he didn't succeed in killing Shun He this time. In order to deal with Shun He this time, Longao even used the power of his spirit. Longao was very clear that if he was the slightest bit careless when using the power of his spirit, the dragon's seal and he would be consigned to eternal damnation. However, the matter was already in front of him. Even if he was extremely unwilling, he could only do so. After returning to the dragon sect, Longao immediately announced to the world what had happened tonight to the entire 9 prefectures. The Imperial City Old Ancestor was scared away by Longao. The Imperial City Old Ancestor couldn't even block Longao's consecutive moves. Once the news was out, everyone in the 9 prefectures was shocked and found it hard to believe. Back then, Longao was able to scare away Wei Lin Great Emperor because Longao had entered the Demon Dao and his strength had increased greatly. But now, since Longao was already awake, his strength should have recovered. Since that was the case, how could Longao scare away a titled Great Emperor? Could it be that Longao had really reached the titled Great Emperor realm? Or perhaps, Longao had officially broken through to the Supreme Dao realm and could casually kill a titled Great Emperor. Many people could almost guess that Longao hadn't reached the Supreme Dao realm. Otherwise, how could the Imperial City Old Ancestor have escaped? If that was the case, didn't it mean that the master of the dragon sect, Longao, had officially reached the titled Great Emperor realm? With regards to Longao's cultivation speed, countless people sighed endlessly. This kind of cultivation speed could simply be described as monstrous. Even if it was described as unprecedented, it would not be an exaggeration at all. Titled Great Emperor. Longao didn't mind the news from the 9 prefectures at all. It was as if he had tacitly agreed. The more Longao acted like this, the more the 9 prefectures believed that Longao's cultivation had already broken through to the titled Great Emperor realm. If that was the case, wouldn't the dragon sect have 3 great emperors? Longao, Longao, and the mysterious Great Emperor. In this way, the dragon sect had unknowingly become the #1 force among the 5 major forces. East Imperial City, Long Family, South Nether Mansion, North Ethereal Palace, Middle Dragon Sect. Everyone thought that Longao could defeat the Imperial City Old Ancestor. Longao thought about it and finally decided to let everyone in the family receive the inheritance first. As for the remaining 700 Divine Dao inheritances, they would be dealt with one batch after another. Dragon Sect. Aside from the Long family's disciples, there were no other disciples of the Dragon Sect. Even Dugu Bai and Long Potian weren't present. Because of this, the martial arts field was very harmonious. Ever since Longao's strong rise, the Long family no longer had any intrigue, because everyone had one goal, and that was the Dragon Sect. It was still the same sentence. Longao had already become the soul of the family. Grandfather, do you want to say it, or should I? You do it. What's going on? Looking at the grandfather and Longao in front of them, everyone was curious and puzzled. With the rise of Longao, Longao's position in the Long family had surpassed Longao. However, Longao was still Longao's grandfather. 7th brother, what's the matter? Smiling, Longao looked at his big brother in front of him and said, Big brother, I'll talk to you alone later. Without waiting for Long Ying to react, Longao continued, everyone shouldn't be unfamiliar with deity realm martial artists, right? Divine Dao warriors. If it was in the past, everyone in the Long family, including Longao, wouldn't know about Divine Dao. However, it was different now. With the rise of Longao, everyone knew that Divine Dao was the strongest existence in the world. Because of this, Everyone was even more curious. They didn't know what Longao wanted to say. I'll officially tell everyone one thing. From now on, all of you have divine Tao inheritances. However, no matter what, you can't leak this out. If you find out, not only will you be expelled from the family, but the divine Tao inheritances will also be taken back. Divine Tao inheritances? They had the chance to obtain divine Tao inheritances. Hearing Longao's words, everyone was extremely excited. Longao handed over the remaining matters to his grandfather. As for himself, he brought his big brother to the other side and said straightforwardly, "Big brother, do you want to obtain divine Tao inheritances?" "Of course. However, seventh brother, I believe you should know that since I've already obtained the old ancestors' inheritance, it seems a little impossible to obtain divine Tao inheritances again." Longao nodded. How could he not know about the worries in his big brother's heart? Under normal circumstances, his big brother had already integrated the great emperor's inheritance. It was indeed impossible for him to continue integrating the divine Tao inheritances. However, Longao was full of confidence and said, "Big brother, I have a way to strip the great emperor's inheritance from your body and let you integrate the divine Tao inheritances." "Seventh brother, can you really do it?" He didn't seem to believe it. If it was someone else who told him this, Longying would definitely not believe it. However, the person who told him this was his seventh brother. Longying suddenly became excited. Great Emperor's inheritance and divine Tao inheritances. As long as there wasn't water in his brain, he believed that he would choose the divine Tao inheritances and not the so-called Great Emperor's inheritance. "Big brother, stripping the Great Emperor's inheritance is incomparably painful. You decide what to do. Once you've made your decision, tell me." Longao asked Longying to stay. Although he hoped that his big brother could choose the divine Tao inheritances, the choice was still in his big brother's hands. If his big brother wasn't willing, he wouldn't force him. After his grandfather finished dealing with everyone, Longao finally divided all the divine Tao inheritances in the blood pool into 300 divine Tao inheritances and passed them down one by one without leaving out a single one. If news of them collectively obtaining the inheritances were to spread, it would probably shock the world. Over 1,000 divine Tao inheritances, what kind of concept was that? Longao left everything to his grandfather, Longao, while he immediately went to the training field. As for his big brother, Longao had already left the divine Tao inheritances. As long as his big brother was willing, he could start the inheritance at any time. As for stripping the great emperor's inheritance, he would have to rely on Long Fu's help. He couldn't do that at all. As soon as Longao appeared, Dragon Sect welcomed an old acquaintance. To be precise, it was Longao's old acquaintance. It could also be said that he was his biggest invisible enemy. Yi Wushuang, Longao's senior brother. Back then, Longao had promised his master, Fen Tian, that no matter what happened, he would avenge him and kill Yi Wushuang to clean up the sect. Chapter 641. Longao was determined to get Yi Wushuang. However, Longao knew very well that with his current strength, even with the help of his god's soul, he would not be able to kill Yi Wushuang. This did not mean that Yi Wushuang was very powerful. After all, Yi Wushuang was only a titled great emperor. Yi Wushuang was not very powerful, but his formations were unparalleled in the world. If he could not kill him in one strike, the consequences would be unimaginable once Yi Wushuang escaped. It was precisely because of this that Longao decided to hold back for the time being. When his formation became stronger, he would use it to help his master clean up the sect and take revenge. "Brother Yi, why are you here? Brother Long, don't you welcome me?" Yi Wushuang laughed loudly and suddenly said, "Brother Long, you lied to me. So you're only a level 6 Long family disciple, and you even founded the Dragon Sect." Longao's heart skipped a beat, and he instantly became vigilant. This was because when he first met Yi Wushuang's intentions were very clear. He became friends with him mainly because he valued him as a disciple of the Long family. Otherwise, Yi Wushuang would not even look at him. Since that was the case, What was Yi Wushuang's purpose for coming here this time? Since Brother Yi already knows, then I'll get straight to the point. I believe Brother Yi knows the rules of the Long family better than me. Not to mention bringing you to the Dragon Valley, even I can't enter the Dragon Valley myself. Since things had already come to this point, Longao chose to lay his cards on the table. If Yi Wushuang wanted to deal with him, then he had no choice but to kill him, even if he could not succeed. However, Yi Wushuang was not angry at all. He smiled and said, "Brother Long, I sincerely treat you as a friend, so I don't want to hide it from you." F***CKU. He cursed internally. How could Longao not know Yi Wushuang's character? He knew what kind of person Yi Wushuang was, a shameless person who deceived his master and destroyed his ancestors. Brother Long, I really didn't expect that the dragon sect you led would be able to suppress the 4 great forces. Just this alone is enough for you to look down on the 9 provinces even if you're not from the Long family. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call you the #1 person in the 9 provinces. He secretly scoffed and despised Yi Wushuang even more. Brother Yi, are you saying that if I wasn't a disciple of a Long family, you wouldn't treat me as a friend? Ha ha ha, Brother Long, you're joking. No matter what, you'll always be my friend. Brother Yi, is there something you need this time? He did not want to continue talking nonsense because Longao had no idea what Yi Wushuang's motive was at all. Longao knew nothing about Yi Wushuang because he could not see Yi Wushuang's true face until now. Was Yi Wushuang a titled Great Emperor or a supreme Dao martial artist? Just what level had Yi Wushuang's formation skills reached? The level of array formation was the same as the level of alchemy. From the lowest level to the highest, the array masters were divided into level 1 array master, level 2 array master, level 3 array master, level 4 array master, level 5 array master, level 6 array master, level 8 array master, level 9 array master. Above level 9 were king level array masters, emperor level array masters, supreme level array masters, emperor level array masters, and god level array masters. His master, Fen Tian, was at the peak of the emperor level. He was only 1 step away from becoming a god-level array master. However, Longao knew very well that it was just a small step. The difference between an emperor-level array master and a god-level array master was like heaven and earth. It was a chasm that was difficult to cross. What level of formation master was Yi Wushuang? According to his master, Yi Wushuang was a supreme-level array master back then. If nothing unexpected happened, after so many years of cultivation, he believed that Yi Wushuang had already broken through to the emperor-level array master. He was only 1 step away from officially breaking through to the god-level array master. An emperor-level array master. Longao naturally knew what an emperor-level array master meant. Longao thought that he was an extremely talented array master, but even so, he was only a level 9 array master. He had not even reached the king level. Once an emperor-level array master set up a formation, it was enough to easily destroy the 4 great forces. It was precisely because of this that Longao was unwilling to make a move at this time unless it was absolutely necessary. Could it be that he had to rely on the ancestor? For some reason, Longao had a feeling that even if the ancestor made a move, he would not be able to keep Yi Wushuang. If he let Yi Wushuang go so easily, there would be great trouble in the future. Brother Long, I treat you as a friend, so I would like to ask you for a favor. I wonder if you are willing to help me. Brother Yi, please speak. Actually, this matter is very simple. I want a drop of dragon blood. Dragon blood? Without a doubt, Longao had already guessed that Yi Wushuang must have known that he was a dragon warrior. He was furious. How could Longao not know that Yi Wushuang did not take him seriously at all? Otherwise, Yi Wushuang would not have dared to ask for dragon blood from him. Dragon warriors treated giant dragons as their companions and brothers. Although Longao was very afraid of Yi Wushuang, it was impossible for him to agree to this matter. Therefore, he refused without hesitation. Brother Yi, if it were anything else, I might consider it. However, I will never agree to this matter. Before Yi Wushuang could continue, Longao said, Brother Yi, I believe you should know that as a dragon warrior, my companion is my brother. It's impossible for me to give you his dragon blood. Brother Long, I know that this is a little difficult, but I really need this drop of dragon blood. Brother Yi, there's something I don't understand. With Brother Yi's strength and formation skills, it should be easy for you to kill a giant dragon. Why? Longao was very puzzled. Yi Wushuang was a titled martial artist, and he might even be a divine Dao martial artist. In that case, with Yi Wushuang's strength, it should not be difficult for him to kill a giant dragon. Since that was the case, why would Yi Wushuang ask for dragon blood from him? It was unnecessary. Brother Long, there's something you don't know. I want to enter the Dragon Valley, so I can't offend the dragon tribe. Therefore, I can't kill a giant dragon. Moreover, I only need a drop of dragon blood. It's very unkind of me to kill a giant dragon for a drop of dragon blood. Longao snorted coldly in his heart. He would not believe Yi Wushuang's words, but he still did not know what Yi Wushuang meant. Longao knew very well that even if he asked, he believed that Yi Wushuang would not tell him. If he casually made up a lie, should he believe it or not? Brother Long, I know this is very difficult for you. How about this? As long as you agree to give me a drop of dragon blood, I can exchange it with something. How about that? Chapter 642. An item. Longao did not express his opinion immediately because he wanted to see what treasure Yi Wushuang had taken out. Yi Wushuang smiled and took out a bottle from his pocket. He looked at Longao mysteriously. Brother Yi, I wonder what's in the bottle? 100 drops of blood from different dragons. F***ck. Although Longao had guessed countless possibilities, he did not expect that there would be 100 drops of dragon blood in the small bottle that Yi Wushuang took out. 100 drops of dragon blood. Did that not mean that Yi Wushuang had to find 100 dragons of different races to collect 100 drops of dragon blood? That seemed a little too difficult. Brother Dragon, strictly speaking, there are already 99 drops of blood from different dragons in the bottle. I only need the last drop to collect 100 drops of dragon blood to refine the divine dragon pill. Divine dragon pill. Longao was not unfamiliar with the divine dragon pill at all because the divine dragon pill itself was a kind of legendary medicinal pill. Although the divine dragon pill was extremely powerful, it was extremely difficult to refine. First of all, it required 100 drops of dragon blood, and not everyone could collect all of them. It was precisely because of that Longao was a little surprised. He did not expect Yi Wushuang to have really collected 99 drops of dragon blood. No wonder he was so anxious to get his drop of blood. Brother Yi, I still don't understand. Since you've already obtained 99 drops of dragon blood, is there no way to get the last drop? Yi Wushuang sighed deeply and said helplessly, Brother Dragon, you don't know this. In order to obtain 100 drops of blood from different dragons, I traveled all over the world and finally obtained 99 drops of dragon blood. However, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find the blood of the 100th type of dragon. If that's the case, how do you know that my dragon partner is definitely the 100th type of dragon? Longao was even more curious about this. Yi Wushuang smiled and said, Brother Dragon, I've already sensed your aura. The dragon aura on your body has clearly told me that your dragon partner doesn't belong to any of the 99 types of dragons. So, although Yi Wushuang did not finish his sentence, the meaning in his words was very clear. Hearing these words, Longao was also shocked in his heart. If he was not mistaken, Yi Wushuang must have known that he was a dragon warrior the first time they met and sensed the little guy's aura. It seemed like Yi Wushuang was indeed a terrifying enemy. Seeing that Longao was silent, Yi Wushuang proceeded to speak. Brother Long, if you can give me the last drop of dragon blood, I can promise you that you'll get one as soon as I get someone to refine the divine dragon pill. What do you think? 1 drop of dragon blood in exchange for 1 divine dragon pill. He believed that no matter who it was, no one would be able to resist such a temptation. However, Longao didn't even think about it and refused. Brother Yi, I'm still unable to agree to this. I'll still say the same thing. The little guy is my companion and my brother. I can't possibly harm my brother for a divine dragon pellet. Rejected. Hearing that Longao had actually rejected him, Yi Wuxuang's expression instantly turned cold. Killing intent surged from his body as he stared fixedly at Longao. In the end, Yi Wuxuang endured it. Yi Wuxuang sneered and said, "Brother Long, I treat you as a friend, but you treat me as an enemy." Before Longao could speak, Yi Wuxuang said, "Brother Long, I hope you'll think carefully about whether you're a friend or a brother." Yi Wuxuang was obviously threatening him, but Longao lowered his head and fell into deep thought. It was not that Longao was afraid of Yi Wuxuang, but he knew very well that Yi Wuxuang would deal with his family and sect if he did not take out the little guy's dragon blood. If it was just Yi Wuxuang alone, Longao would not be afraid at all. However, the problem now was that Yi Wuxuang was at least an emperor-level formation master. If Yi Wuxuang wanted to deal with him and set up a formation, it would be troublesome. What should he choose? "Brother Long, as long as you can give me the last drop of dragon blood, other than promising to give you a divine dragon pill, I'll also promise you a chance. No matter when, as long as you're in trouble, I'll help you once. How about that?" At this point, Longao knew that if he did not agree, it would immediately trigger a huge battle. However, now was not the time to fall out with Yi Wuxuang. Nodding, Longao finally chose to agree. Long Qiong did not refuse at all because in this world, the only person who could obtain the dragon blood was Longao. If it was anyone else, the consequences could be imagined. "Brother Yi, this is the little guy's dragon blood." After receiving the dragon blood, Yi Wuxuang suppressed the excitement within him and nodded. He said, "Brother Long, I'll definitely remember this kindness. I won't go back on the 2 conditions that I promised you earlier. Goodbye." After obtaining the last drop of dragon blood, Yi Wuxuang was clearly impatient. He could not wait to leave immediately to refine the divine dragon pill. Just like that, Yi Wuxuang turned around and left. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared without a trace. Looking at the disappearing figure, Longao was not angry at all. Instead, he smiled. That's right, Longao was indeed smiling. Within the dragon seal space. "Master, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. As long as we can obtain 100 drops of dragon blood, you can refine the divine dragon pill. At that time, your cultivation will be enough to break through to the Earth Saint stage." Longao nodded. He was also looking forward to the divine dragon pill. Longao did not want to agree at first. In the end, if he had no choice, he could only ask the patriarch to deal with Yi Wuxuang. However, Long Fu summoned him and told him about the trick. After thinking about it, Longao was prepared to take the risk. "Long Fu, can you really succeed?" "Master, don't worry. I've already fused with the soul slave in the blood. However, Yi Wuxuang will definitely push the blame on you if he finds out." Long Fu did not finish his sentence, but the meaning behind his words was very clear. Longao sneered and said, "You want to cause trouble for me?" Yi Wuxuang, who had left Longao Peak, was overjoyed. He rushed to his destination as fast as he could because for countless years, he had been collecting the so-called 100 drops of dragon blood in order to refine the divine dragon pill. If it was an ordinary person, not to mention collecting 100 drops of blood, even collecting a drop of blood would be like a lunatic talking. However, Yi Wuxuang's situation was obviously different. As an emperor-level formation master, Yi Wuxuang had relied on his powerful formation to finally collect 100 drops of dragon blood from different races after decades. What kind of concept was that? If news of this were to spread, no one would believe it. A few hours later, Yi Wuxuang felt uneasy. He took out a small bottle from his pocket and his expression changed drastically. Chapter 643. Longao. Looking at the empty bottle, Yi Wuxuang was enraged to the extreme. Yi Wuxuang instantly understood what had happened. Could it be that Longao was behind this? Yi Wuxuang did not want to believe it at all because Longao's strength was obvious. He was only a small saint. He could even easily kill Longao with a flick of his finger. If it were not for the fact that Longao was still useful, Yi Wuxuang would not have spoken so nicely. "Longao, I'll make you die a graveless death. Yi Wuxuang immediately turned around and returned to Longao Peak. When he saw Longao, Yi Wuxuang suppressed the anger and killing intent in his heart and snorted coldly, Longao, hand over 100 drops of dragon blood. Otherwise, I'll slaughter Longao Peak and not leave a single one alive. Longao had a curious look on his face. He pretended to ask, Brother Yi, what exactly happened? Pretending. Seeing Longao's innocent face, Yi Wuxuang had the urge to kill him. He had spent countless efforts to obtain 100 drops of dragon blood, but now, he had given it to someone else. Not to mention Yi Wuxuang, no matter who it was, they would not be able to accept this. Longao, my 100 drops of dragon blood are missing. Isn't it your doing? Helplessly spreading out his hands and shrugging his shoulders, Longao said, Brother Yi, you think too highly of me. With your strength, even if I wanted to obtain 100 drops of dragon blood, I'm afraid it would be impossible. Yi Wuxuang fell into deep thought because what Longao had just said was also what he was thinking. Because with his strength, not to mention that the other party was just a small saint, even a titled great emperor would not be able to take away 100 drops of dragon blood from him without anyone noticing. Brother Yi, I just want to ask you one thing. When you left just now, were the 100 drops of dragon blood still there? Yes. That's it. When you left, the 100 drops of dragon blood were still there, but I didn't follow you. Now that you've lost 100 drops of dragon blood, you're blaming me. Isn't this a little unreasonable? Of course, he couldn't justify it. Yi Wuxuang understood that as well. However, no matter what, the 100 drops of dragon blood had indeed disappeared. He had spent countless years collecting the 100 drops of dragon blood with great difficulty. How could he take it lying down that it had disappeared into thin air? If it wasn't Longao, then who could it be? In reality, Yi Wuxuang only suspected Longao from the beginning until the end because he firmly believed that Longao could not do that. After all, Longao's ability was too weak, and there was a world of difference between them. Brother Yi, why don't I send someone to help you look around? Waving his hand, Yi Wuxuang did not even want to say anything more. He turned around and left quickly. Yi Wuxuang wanted to curse. With his ability, the fact that the other party could take away 100 drops of dragon blood without anyone noticing showed how terrifying the other party's ability was. Even he couldn't do it, let alone the disciples of the dragon sect. After Yi Wuxuang left, Longao smiled again. Longao had already expected such an outcome. He was overjoyed and immediately returned to the secret chamber to take out the 100 drops of dragon blood. Longao was extremely excited. He had to admit that the soul slaves refined by Long Fu were simply too strange and mysterious. Even with Yi Wuxuang's ability, he was unable to discover the existence of the soul slaves. One could only imagine. Looking at the 100 drops of dragon blood, Longao was a little worried. Divine Dragon Pellet. He also hoped to be able to refine the Divine Dragon Pellet. Moreover, he had already collected all 100 drops of dragon blood, which could be considered a super bargain. Otherwise, just collecting 100 drops of dragon blood would not be an easy task. Although he already had 100 drops of dragon blood, refining the Divine Dragon Pill wasn't something that could be done with words alone. An alchemist was no different from a formation master. Alchemists were divided into Level 1 Alchemist, Level 2 Alchemist, Level 3 Alchemist, Level 4 Alchemist, Level 5 Alchemist, Level 6 Alchemist, Level 7 Alchemist, Level 8 Alchemist, and Level 9 Alchemist. Above Level 9 Alchemists were King-level Alchemists, Emperor-level Alchemists, Venerable-level Alchemists, Emperor-level Alchemists, and Divine-level Alchemists. Longao knew very well that to successfully refine the Divine Dragon Pill, one would need a peak Emperor-level alchemist at the very least. Even so, it would be very difficult for a peak Emperor-level alchemist to refine the Divine Dragon Pill. In other words, only a Divine-level alchemist could have full confidence in successfully refining the so-called Divine Dragon Pill. However, he was only an Emperor-level alchemist. There was still a long way to go before he could become a Divine-level alchemist. As for Yi Wuxuang, Longao was also sure that Yi Wuxuang was not an alchemist. The reason why Yi Wushuang collected 100 drops of dragon blood was because he wanted to ask someone to help him refine it. The divine dragon pill could be considered one of the most powerful medicinal pills in the world. Longao had calculated that if he could refine the divine dragon pill and swallow it, not only would his cultivation be able to instantly break through to the Earth Saint realm, it would also be of great help to his future cultivation. However, Longao also understood that with his current alchemy skills, he would probably not be able to successfully refine it. It seemed that he could only look at 100 drops of dragon blood but could not refine it. With a deep sigh, just as Longao was about to give up and take out 100 drops of dragon blood to refine the so-called divine dragon pill after he became a divine-level alchemist, Longao suddenly heard Long Fu summon. Although he was surprised, Longao still entered the dragon seal space. Long Fu, what's the matter? Master, with your current alchemy skills, you still can't refine the divine dragon pill. Since that's the case, why don't you take out 100 drops of dragon blood and help the little guy? What do you mean? Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was very curious. He did not know what Long Fu meant. Of course, he knew who Long Fu was referring to. The two little guys. The little guy that Long Fu was talking about was definitely Long Qiong and not Long Ming. What did he mean by taking out 100 drops of dragon blood to help Long Qiong? Master, listen to me. The 100 drops of dragon blood that Yi Wushuang collected are all the blood of powerful giant dragons. Moreover, they are the blood of different dragon tribes. Very few people can do this. For every member of the dragon tribe, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Similarly, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the little guy. Long Fu, what kind of opportunity is this? Stop pretending to be obedient. Longao was extremely depressed. Long Fu had always been like this, causing him to be in a mess. He wished that he could speak on behalf of Long Fu. Long Fu thought for a moment and suddenly said, I can help Master refine 100 drops of dragon blood and let the little guy fuse with it. At that time, the little guy will undergo a second mutation. Not only will his cultivation speed increase, but also his strength. I believe the little guy will become an ancient divine dragon. Ancient divine dragon? What was that? Long Fu, make it clear. What is an ancient divine dragon? What is a second mutation? Longao was looking forward to it because he knew that what Long Fu said was an opportunity for the little guy, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Chapter 644. Master, the first clan of the Dragon Clan is not the Old Master, but the primordial divine dragon. It was the first time Long Fu had heard of what Longao had said. Everyone knew that the most powerful clan of the Dragon Clan was the so-called primordial divine dragon, the ancestor of the Dragon Clan. He had disappeared not long ago and was killed by the heavenly Dao. However, Long Fu was telling him that the first divine dragon of the Dragon Clan was not the primordial divine dragon, but the so-called primordial divine dragon. Primordial divine dragon? Master, I know it's hard for you to believe, but I still have to tell you that the primordial divine dragon has never appeared. Therefore, no one in the world knows about the primordial divine dragon. Nodding, Longao already understood what Long Fu meant. Long Fu could use 100 drops of dragon blood to turn Long Qiong into an primordial divine dragon. It would be a lie if he was not happy. Long Fu, what should I do? There's no need. Leave the little guy to me. When the 100 drops of dragon blood are condensed and fused with the little guy will become an primordial divine dragon. Nodding, Longao did not stay any longer. According to Long Fu, the condensation of 100 drops of dragon blood had to begin immediately because the process was very complicated and difficult. Longao knew very well that if it were not for Long Fu's help, even if someone else could obtain 100 drops of dragon blood, it would be impossible to condense and create an primordial divine dragon. Everything was because of Long Fu's help. It was precisely because of this that Longao was looking forward to Long Qiong's growth. He was looking forward to the day when Long Qiong became an primordial divine dragon. After leaving the secret chamber, Longao did not relax at all because he did not know when Yi Wushuang would return. Back then, Yi Wushuang had been temporarily tricked by him to leave, but no one could guarantee that Yi Wushuang would not understand. However, Longao knew that Yi Wushuang was very confident in his strength. He was unwilling to believe that he could take 100 drops of dragon blood from him without anyone noticing. 9 States Spirit Region, Imperial City. Slap. Shunhe ruthlessly slapped Duanhe in the face and coldly said, "Trash, idiot." Despite being slapped, Duanhe didn't dare to say anything. He didn't even dare to reveal the slightest bit of truth. He knelt on the ground while trembling with fear. "Forefather. Shut up." Duan Kaisin sighed deeply. He could only take a step back. The great ancestor had taken action personally. Even he could not change the situation. Duanhe, as the city lord of the Imperial City, you almost led the Imperial City to destruction. Let me ask you, how can you face the ancestors of the Imperial City? Ancestor, I was wrong. Duanhe's body was trembling slightly. That was because Duanhe didn't know whether or not the ancestor would directly kill him out of anger. When Longao first appeared, you knew that he wasn't simple. Why didn't you kill him then? Can I? Of course, Duanhe didn't dare to ask. After all, the situation back then was different. The 4 major forces were fighting openly and covertly. If the Imperial City went all out, it would definitely give the other 3 major forces an opportunity to take advantage of. Could it be that he had really done something wrong? Duanhe didn't think that he had done anything wrong. Therefore, Duanhe carefully told the great ancestor his thoughts in full detail. After listening, Shunhe didn't say anything. That was because he knew that Duanhe, as the city lord of the Imperial City, did not do anything wrong. His mistake was that the 4 major forces were fighting openly and covertly. It gave the dragon sect a chance to develop, and it also gave Longao a chance to grow. Forget it. Get up. It's not your fault. Hearing the great ancestor's words, Duanhe let out a long sigh of relief. It was really a trip to the gates of hell. It was too thrilling. Duanhe was also very suspicious. What was wrong with the great ancestor today? Standing up, Duanhe asked softly, "Great ancestor, what should we do now?" With a deep sigh, Shunhe said helplessly, "What else can we do? The dragon sect has already developed to the point where they can compete with us. Longao, Longhaosha, and the mysterious warrior. In this way, the dragon sect has a total of 3 great emperors. If we fight them head-on, we will be the ones at a disadvantage in the end." Although he didn't want to admit it, Shunhe knew that the dragon sect and Longao had indeed grown to the point where the Imperial City couldn't fight them head-on. Moreover, Shunhe wasn't stupid enough to fight the dragon sect head-on. It would give the other 3 major forces an opportunity to take advantage of the situation. Duanhe and Duan Kai were also somewhat unwilling. But since the great ancestor had said so, what else could they do? Spirit Region of the 9 States, 3rd grade Long Family Hall. Long Yang and Long Maoan's expressions were also ugly. Both of them already knew that Longao had scared away Shunhe. Back then, when Longao scared away Wei Ling, it might have been an accident. But one accident was an accident. Could 2 accidents still be an accident? Patriarch, the strength of Longao and the dragon sect is already there. Although the ethereal palace, the nether mansion, and the Imperial City haven't said much, I have already received news that the 3 major forces have already given up on fighting Longao head-on. They have given up the 9 states to the dragon sect. Don't tell me that the 3 major forces don't want to find the grave of the gods anymore. With a deep sigh, Long Yang said helplessly, "Patriarch, even if we want to enter the 9 states now, I'm afraid it's not very possible. With the dragon sect's current strength, even if the 4 of us join forces and attack with all our strength, I'm afraid it won't be possible." Long Yang didn't finish his words, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Long Maoan nodded and said, "I also didn't expect Longao to develop so quickly. It's too fast. He didn't even give me a chance to react." Long Yang nodded in agreement. Regarding Longao's talent and potential, he had to admit that Longao had indeed achieved something unprecedented. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call him the #1 person in the 9 states. Patriarch, what should we do now? Yesterday, the old ancestor came to me. No matter what happens next, we can't fight against the dragon sect. We have to completely seal the passage. From now on, we have nothing to do with the 9 states. No one from the imperial city is allowed to leave the spirit domain of the 9 states. Hearing the patriarch's words, Longyang was shocked. He had already guessed that with Longao's strength, the old ancestor wouldn't be willing to continue fighting against the dragon sect. However, Longyang didn't expect the old ancestor to seal the passage and forbid the imperial city's disciples from entering the 9 states. What did this mean? The old ancestor's meaning was very simple. He wanted the imperial city to completely withdraw from the battle for supremacy and give the 9 states to the dragon sect. He didn't even want the grave of the gods. The 4 major forces had fought for the grave of the gods for countless years. But because of a young man who had just risen, they chose to give it up. Was this true? Seeing the patriarch's helpless and disappointed face, Longyang didn't say anything in the end. P.S. Chapter 6, delivered after midnight. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.